Hello everyone and welcome to Twitch Tales, episode 64 of the running total. Where did we leave off in episode 63? Well, Apis had gone into the forest with their friend Mosh, the werfox, to investigate the scene of the crime, and discovered that the victim had not perished after all, but was surviving with their injuries. We took the path to Mwinglofau and spoke to one of the guards there, Trell. And in speaking to Trell, it seems that they are preoccupied with some dangers in the woods at the moment, a sense of unease in the forest, and Arachel seems to believe that there is some kind of threat in the woods. There was mention of fear of shapeshifters and unseen threats of the forest. But Arachel has been couchy even with the other four sister towns about what the actual threat is. Everybody is just getting armoured up and ready for a fight that they're not sure who they're actually fighting. They took off, they gave you the information and then you took off into the woods, delivering a message for them on their behalf to the town of Dolbin Iluath, the one that you helped with the Prin flower harvest from a few weeks back. Arriving in Dolbin Iluath, you discovered that Beladel and his wife were actually there. Beladel holding up in the sickbed and suffering quite dramatically with his injuries and his newfound werfox curse. It seems to be taking hold. You delivered the message from Mwinglofau, and you left Dolbin Iluath for the town of Helwurin, and once you arrived there, you reclaimed your now enchanted Displacer Beast cloak from Talia, the enchantress there. That's where we left off, with you reclaiming your cloak of displacement. You need to attune to it. It's going to take up one of your attunement slots. And you also need to pay for it. They, in thanks for everything you did to help them out, they both tanned the displacer hide and turned it into a usable cloak. But the enchanting was on top of that. The enchanting was extra and was quite involved process from Talia. Meant that she couldn't really be working on anything else other than that for well over 2 weeks. So, we're picking up in Talila's shop. You have your Displacer Beast cloak draped around your shoulders. You have your older cloak, your cloak of fashions, taken off and laid on the table in front of you. Talia, who is an elven woman, does not speak very much in the way of common at all, so there's always a bit of a language barrier there. She's in front of you, admiring your cloak and making sure that it fits you properly. What do you want to do? Curious if there's anything else worth purchasing in this shop. Well, to think of it as a shop, I think, would be a bit disingenuous. It is more of her home, and she is a bit of a tinkerer and an alchemist. She likes to tinker with items and enchanting things. She's the closest thing they've got to an artificer of sorts, but she doesn't really sell things. They're a very small elven village that trades with the other elven villages of the forest, but they don't really have a shop per se. She's just enchanted this thing for you as a thank you for everything you've done, essentially. Let's see how much this costs. So you ask, Talia, do I owe you anything for this cloak? And she kind of cocks her head, and you say, do I owe you money? Do you need? And you pat your coin purse for the cloak. And she says, oh, yes. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 7, 8. He says 6, 7, 8, 7. Sorry. Sorry. I will. And she just points to the door. And she quickly gets up out of the front room and leaves you in her front room, very stiflingly hot in here. Fashion cloak, not a cloak. Yeah, the cloak that you had was a cloak of many fashions, which you can turn into looking like whatever you want. So most often you've been using it for camouflage. Once or twice you've also used it to show off things that you need to show off, like this is the dragon that we killed. If you need to talk to somebody and use it as a visual aid, you've been using your cloak of many fashions to do that for you. But it is or copy a map. Yes, you've copied a map of the Lannis Woods on it. Cloak of photocopying, yes. So you fold up your cloak of fashions, put it away in your pack while she's gone. It doesn't take long before she comes back with the spiritual elder of the town, an elven woman that you've met called Sathan. Sathan comes into Talila's shop as well and says, Apis, it's good to see you. Whew! Oh, it's hot in here, Talila. Talila says, huh? She says, Ethratu semeda, and Talila says, Defram wesibitaraf, bushwisi budamba ba grastis, bush. There. Oh, maybe we should go outside then, Sidon says to you. And you leave the front room with her, and Talila comes with as well, and you're out in the garden. Talila kind of follows you out and immediately gets distracted looking down at some of the flowers that are by the side of the steps there, and immediately starts to tend to them. You get the impression that she's quite a absent-minded professor kind of type. She's like, if she sees something, she's like, oh, that needs doing, I'll do it now. And she's, from previous interactions with Talila, she's got a bit of a green thumb as well. She's got a very nice garden, so she starts immediately tending to that as Sadin and you talk. She says, I understand that you're happy with the cloak and it's working fine. You say, well, I'm sure it will work fine once I've gotten used to wearing it, or attuned to it in mechanical terms. Yes. Do I owe you money for it? And she says, it would be. I know that we did not speak of payment at the time, but Talila has invested quite a bit of her own materials into the enchanting process, and it's an expensive. We do have to sort of replenish those materials because obviously we can't. You say, yeah, and I understand. How much do I owe you? She says, well, Talila is saying that she does not want to charge for her labour, and Talila sort of turns to look up, hearing her name obviously, but not fully understanding everything else around it. She says she does not want to charge for her labour, but I think, given that she worked on it pretty much every waking hour, I think it would be nice to have a little something for that as well. The material costs, unfortunately, are a little costly, given the enchanting process is something I'm not fully familiar with. All I know is the materials she's used, and you're like, yeah, I understand. Just what's the figure? And she says, well, there's unfortunately it's I think she's used around 50 or so gold of cost, and then 17 or 18 days I think she was working on it. So I think at the very least we should give her a gold a day, don't you? You say, I think that's reasonable. Sorry if I'm speaking for you, but I know that a lot of Apis would be perfectly fine with thinking it's reasonable to pay her for a gold a day. For anyone who isn't familiar with D&D economy, 1 gold per day is about what you'd expect for a skilled but not expert what are they called? Craftsman. Somebody who is skilled at a particular craft but not necessarily an expert at it. You're looking at about a gold a day. So she has said about 50 gold to cover the cost of the materials that she's going to have to go, and then about 17 gold on top of that for 1 gold per day on her labour costs. So that would take it to 67 gold. So a lot of people say in round up to 75. Should we round up to 75? What do you think? Put a thumbs up for 75 to offer 75 gold. Put a thumbs down if you want to offer a different amount. All right, look at this. Unanimous, pretty much. So you say, that sounds reasonable to me. Should we say 75 gold then? And she says, we can say 67 or so. And you say, it's fine. 675, I think. I'm very happy with this. It may well save my life. So I'm happy with this at all. I'm happy with this right from the beginning, and I think 75 is very reasonable for what it might do for me. You've done a fantastic job. And she says, oh, well, that's very kind of you, thank you. So you're paying 75 gold. Do you want to pay any of it in platinum? You are carrying 413 gold pieces in your pocket, or in your quiver of holding anyway. It is weightless. It's not exactly weightless. We're not a video game. I'm not too worried about calculating the weight of it, but if you do get something a bit too cumbersome, I will try and keep a track of that. Pay it all in gold. Get rid of some of that gold, some of them gold pieces. All right. So 75 off of 413 is 338. 338. Check that out. Thank you to my friend Spidey for making that coin purse app for me. Do you play that platinum is hard to trade? It depends where you are, High Tech Geek. Yes, in a situation like this, very much so, because you're in a very, very tiny little elven village in the middle of the woods that rely mostly on trading rather than money, and so it would be very difficult to find someone to actually use platinum. If you're in the city, though, absolutely not. It's super easy. Barely an inconvenience. We're missing spells. Thank you for the reminder, Wraith. What were we on, Wraith? Were we on full health? Full spells? Full everything. Cool. There you go then. We've got 4 level 1 spell slots as indicated by these berries. And 2 level 2 spell slots as indicated by these flowers. Everything except inspiration. We don't have inspiration. Okay. Bling! Although, I will say that deciding to overpay by a few gold to keep people keen, I think that's a very Apis thing to do, so I will give you inspiration for that. Can we ask if there's anything else for sale that's ready to go? So you ask that, you say, do you know if Talia's selling anything else? And she says, I don't think so. I'll ask. Talia, and she's already looking at you because she hears her name a couple times. What do you see? Lasa. She says, like what? Is there anything in particular that you're looking for? Just potions, perhaps? Or, brochure? Brochure. And she says, no. She said that she has some potions of healing, but they are useful if we get into trouble. I'm not sure if you've heard, but Arachel has been. Do you know Arachel? It's our sister, and you're like, yeah, I know Arachel. Yes, they've told us that we are in for a rough time over the next month or so. So I think unless it is vital to you, the potions would be more useful to us than the money. Of course, if you're going to be sticking around and helping out, then of course you can use them. But I'm afraid the potions might be better off staying in use for us. And then she relays that to Talia. How about enchanted arrows? Do you know it? And she says, I don't believe she does that, but she can probably do some for you on commission. Talia, intrantu symbatica, saranj vrista protista. And she says, I'm going to roll a percentage check to see if she already has some. I'm going to make it a... This is the hunting village, Helweren. Helweren is the hunter of the fog villages, so there's a slightly better chance that she has already enchanted some. If she has enchanted some already, they're likely to be in Veren's quiver. Veren is an elven man and an ally of yours that you've met before. So, has she got any to spare, or is she working on any? Oh, she is. I gave it a 20% chance. I rolled a 20 exactly. She says, Lethia, and she gets up from kneeling down in the garden and dusts off her knees and goes inside. She says, yes, she's got something. I suppose we'll wait and see. While we're waiting, do you know if you guys or anyone has anything that can cure a disease? And she says, no, she won't have that. And unfortunately, anything to do with healing magics and curing magics, curative, restorative ailments, anything to do with that. There will be different, how do you say it in common? The different fields of magic types. Talia is much more attuned to. She's, what's the word in common? She is used to a particular field of magic that is more of the arcane nature. Healing tends to come from a more divine sort of source, whether that's from the forest or gods or your own beliefs in things. And so Dolben Iluad, our sister village, I believe you're aware of, and you say, yeah, I've been there, and you say, yes, they have the Prin flowers there. They're a flower that when they bloom on a full moon, if they're picked in the right way, and you say, yeah, I was actually there for their last harvest to help them out. Oh, of course, yes, of course you were. Sorry, I forgot. Anyone up in Dolben Iluad would probably be your best bet for removing diseases. Anyone? How about curses? Do you reckon they'd be able to remove curses? I don't think so. Why do you ask? Do you tell Sathan, the leader of this elven town? Do you tell her why you're asking about curses? Around about this time, it seems prudent to know. Yeah, you say for Benadryl. You say it's they're holding somebody in Dolben Iluad at the moment who's struggling with a curse at the moment. And she says, right, I didn't know if you knew about him. Yes, unfortunately, we've already provided everything we can for the gentleman. I'm not sure if there's anything that we can do that Dolben Iluad already can't. Fair enough. I'll keep looking then. Yes, fair enough. The door opens and Talia comes back out. Can we ask about boots of Elvenkind? We will indeed, yes. She says, she holds out an arrow that's got like a more flathead tip on the end of it. And she says, this one has this one is it is for sticking the animal when you shoot it and does not want to and when you does not want to kill, when you do not want to kill, this arrow will sticky the animal. And Sathan turns and asks her in Elvish, and she asks back, and she answers back, and Sathan says, she says that it's currently in the works. She's still working on it at the moment, but once it's finished, it will cast a sort of it will explode outwards in like a sticky ooze once you hit the animal, and it will entangle them in this. It will encase the animal's legs or back end in some kind of lathrather. She says it's like a goo, like a black tar almost. Ah, okay. How long until it's finished? I mean, space it out. She says it's basically done now. Maybe another day to do the final tests on her enchantments. So in about a day, so either you can buy it from her now, and there's a small percentage chance that it doesn't work as intended. There are extra effects, so you'd have to buy it and put it with an asterisk next to it, essentially. Or you can come back in a day and buy it from her once it's approved. Put a thumbs up if you want to buy it now. Put a thumbs down if you either want to buy it later or not at all. you do have a lot of arrows. As you can see in the quiver below me, you have 4 arrows that are regular. The red number 4 indicates regular arrows that are wrapped in tar, so that you can dip them into fire and use them as fire arrows. You have 1 green arrow in your quiver here that indicates a tranquilizer arrow. This has a magical enchantment on it so that when it hits a creature, it will deal the regular amount of damage, and then it will cast the sleep spell on that creature. And you have 8 blue arrows that are non-magical +1 arrows. They are masterwork arrows, so they have a +1 to attack damage, +1 to attack rolls, but not to damage rolls. And then regular arrows you have, for all intents and purposes, an infinite amount of because of your magic quiver. All right, this is pretty hard to tell, but the nose have it here. It's not a consensus by any means, but the nose seem to have it. I'm going to put it to a poll so I can get exact numbers on this. Do we buy this arrow of entanglement here? Yes, we can buy it now and just take the risk that it doesn't work properly, but with the risk is that we don't have to worry about coming back for it. The second option is yes, let's buy it, but let's come back for it once we know it's 100% working. Or the other option is no, don't bother with it. We just closed the plot hook that was drawing us back here with picking up our cloak finally. Do we really want to create another one already? I mean, maybe people do, Sparrow. Alright, with 50% of the vote, Apis decides, yes, we're going to buy it, but we'll come back tomorrow or later. You say, yes, I would like that. If it could I buy it? And she says, yes, and she holds it out to you, and you say, I'll if it's not finished, I'll come back for it. And say then does your translating for you. And she says, oh, okay, and she takes it back inside. As she's walking away, you say, one more thing. I've heard of boots. I've heard of boots that can like make someone a little quieter through the woods and things. And Satan says, "Ah, yes, it's a thing. It's a thing that we have heard about in our. In fact, I've actually seen some in use when I was a child. It's a thing that we elves can enchant to make a creature a little stealthier. We could possibly do something like that. Satan doesn't. She doesn't say Satan. She says Talia doesn't have any right now. But if you really want elven boots, we can potentially make you some. Offer payment for the arrow up front. I'd be interested in knowing how long it would take to get some of those boots made and enchanted. About the arrow, by the way, how much would that cost? How much would the arrow cost? Let me just do some very quick maths here to work that out. So this is a relatively common item. The entangle spells, first level spells, it's not super powerful. Probably, we're looking at probably about 20 gold. So I'm going to go with, I'm going to say 16 plus a d8. 16 plus a d8. Oh, lucky. 1. She asks Talia how much. Talia sort of ums and ahs about it. She explains how much she's spent in resources to enchant the thing, what it would be worth to Veren and all of this stuff. And eventually she lands on 17 gold. If you're willing to pay 17 gold, you can pay up front, or you can pay for half of it now, half when you pick up, or something to that effect. You can try and haggle her down by another gold or 2. Roughly how long would you need to create these boots? While we're on that note, similar price to the cloaks, around 75 gold. We'll ask that in a second once I give this answer. How many arrows? Just the one. It's just one expendable arrow. It's only expended if you hit the creature though. So if you miss, it'll disappear into the forest and the magic is still on. If you can find and retrieve the arrow, then the magic is still on it. The first time you hit a creature with it, the arrow is gone and the magic is expended, and it casts the entangle spell on the creature, on the flavors as like a black tar rather than vines. Just pay it all now so we don't have to remember. 17 gold pieces for one. Yep. It's a lot of cost to magic items, especially when you're out in the elven wilderness and there's no supply and demand chain keeping prices down. There's no competitors. There's no magic shops that can buy in bulk, or it's just one lady working on it. It's like a quarter of a cloak. It's a very useful item for hunters. If you need to capture something without killing it, like you have done a couple of times now. There might not be a chain, but they're preparing for war. They'll have to use for multiple of them. Yeah, that's probably why Talia's been working on it. Can it catch were creatures? Can catch any creature. Any creature that you can hit with it. It casts the entangle spell, so there's a chance that once entangled, the creature can burst out of it eventually, or cut their way out, or teleport out of it, or whatever. Thumbs up if you're willing to pay 17 gold. Thumbs down if you either don't want to pay 17 gold or you want to haggle or anything like that. Give me a thumbs up, thumbs down. Yes for 17 gold. Fancy's right that you do have a tranquilizer arrow, which does a similar thing but does cause damage to the creature first. The tranquilizer deals the regular amount of damage of an arrow and then casts the sleep spell on it. Alright, this is a majority yes, quite clearly. So Talia will you pay the 17 gold for it. 17 off of 38 leaves 21. You pay out another 17 gold for them. They're very grateful, and they hand you an arrow of binding, or an arrow of entanglement, or something. I will have to put another arrow number into your quiver. You take it, place it into your magic quiver. Sorry, yeah, you were gonna wait till it's finished. You don't actually take it yet. But tomorrow you'll come back and get yourself an arrow of binding. So you pay your 17 gold up front though, and say, I'll come back and grab it, please. And she says absolutely. And then you say, so about those boots, do you know how long they would take to enchant, and whether they'd be about the same as the cloak or not? Now, boots of elven kind. Let me double check that in the thingamabob here. The item list. Cloak of displacement. That is a rare item. Boots of elven kind is an uncommon item, so won't be quite as much as the cloak. So let me work this out. What would it take to make these boots? If you're already starting with boots, they'd probably have to do quite a lot of work on them anyway. So probably just as easy to make them from the cobbler with the enchantment right there from the process, so that you can enchant it as you go. So enchanting boots, how long would that take? I think it would probably take her. I think it would take as long as the cloak of displacement, just not cost as much in materials. So about 2 weeks plus the materials. Probably looking at. She says they would probably cost around. They would probably cost around the same as the cloak, maybe a little cheaper, depending on how many materials I used for the process. Probably somewhere between 50 and 75, I imagine. It would depend on how long it takes us. Would the boots need to be attuned? No, boots of elven kind do not need to be attuned. 50 to 75? Find that reasonable? Yes? No? Don't forget we're going to be getting braces enchanted in Fondurg as well. Depending on what you enchant them with, your braces will need to be attuned, yeah? Let's commission them and be back in 2 weeks in time for a war. All right, so you're going to commission them. Thumbs up if you want to commission some boots of elven kind to try and get them enchanted. All of the gear upgrades. 50 seems more fair than 75. Yeah, but they can't give you an exact number because they don't know how long it's going to take and how many materials and things. If they get interrupted in the middle of the process and have to start again, or if they run into unforeseen consequences and things. All right, so you say yes. If you wouldn't mind, then if you have any time, I understand that you're in a lot of trouble with whatever's coming up from this unforeseen enemy of yours, whatever Arachel is seeing that they're not telling us. I understand you're probably dealing with a lot of things with that, but if you have downtime, if you have any available time to be working on it, I would love for some of your elvish boots. If that's a thing you can help me with. And Satan relays, and Talia says, yes. We did just overpay for the cloak and prepay for the arrow, and we're not sure we will even be able to get back. Dropping the price on the boots a little would be helpful. Can we put down some money now? You can if you want, yep. You're going to commission some boots. She's going to start working on them. If you want to pay a little on top of that now, if you want to pay some like down payment on the boots, you can do so. Remember the time we had a mace in our equipment at the start of the campaign? We never used that. Memories. Yeah, you sold the mace in the end. Pay 25, pay 30. What do you guys think? Pay 30, pay 25, pay 21. So you've got rid of the 21 gold and you're down to a nice round 300. Great minds, Redal. Half now, half on pickup. I mean, it's all well and good saying that, but they don't exactly know how much the total is going to be. Haggle the price down a little? Well, they haven't really given you a price yet, so you can't really haggle it yet. Are they going to be suspicious that we have this much money to drop right now? They might start to get suspicious. You've forked over 80 some gold already, which is quite a hefty sum of money. 90 some, in fact. 90. What was it? 92. Alright, so a lot of people are saying to pay some amount now, so I'll just go with the 21 gold now. So you can write down in your notes that we've paid 21 gold onto some elvish boots. We're unsure when they'll be done. We ask them for a regular time frame, and Satan says definitely not within the next 2 weeks. It'll be at least 2 weeks to get them made, I imagine. Probably more though. So if you're back in the area in about 2 weeks, you can pop in, see how well they're doing. But other than that, you're gonna have to be waiting for them to get enchanted. Paying up front for arrow already established we're trustworthy. Yeah. They'll definitely not push the matter about 21 gold. They haven't asked for any amount up front, so you do the right thing by just offering it anyway. You say, I'll pay some amount now, just so you know I'm serious about them, and you can obviously use them to buy yourself replacement materials if and when traders come through. He says, yes, thank you. And Satan says, please tell me if this is not my place, but that's quite a lot of gold that you've got in your pocket. Have you been successful in your travels as an adventurer, have you? Come across any abandoned treasure hoards, lairs? You say, I have actually, yes. Do you tell them about the dragon? Tell them about Lucifreak, yeah. So you say, I have actually, yes. Recently I had not too much luck in that I was captured down near the town of Fondurg by a green dragon called Lucifreak, and her eyes go wide. And even Talia stops and turns sort of like slowly. She's just working, and then she hears this and goes, green dragon? You say, yes, a green dragon called Lucifreak. And right before that we were robbed too, yes. It's not the most pleasant of experience, but it was only a few days that I was captive before we managed to escape. The king sent some guards out, and between them and I, we managed to slay the dragon. And you slayed it? Yes, I slayed the dragon, and and then I found where its lair was, and it was just a young one, thankfully. But that did mean that it hadn't had a great amount of time to accrue much in the way of treasure. So that's actually how I met Belladel. That he was also a fellow captive. Oh right, we'd heard that he'd come up from the south. Nobody nobody offered any explanation further than that, though. Yeah, he was in the south in the Lannis Woods, and part of an elven town there. And the dragon was using that elven town as his base. But yes, we slid the dragon, got some of his lair, and now I'm trying to put it back into the community, trying to make sure that the people who do great work, and you gesture to Talia, can afford to keep doing their work. We appreciate what you're doing with the magical enchantments and things, and obviously I want to help you with your upcoming troubles with whatever it is. And she says, well, thank you. We appreciate that. It's very kind of you. Yes, adventuring's very high risk, high reward. There's a chance you have to come across a dragon, but once you do, you at least get paid for it, it seems. Yes, well, well done. I'm glad to have you on our side, and thank you. Very fortuitous for us, anyway, that you came across the goblins when you did, and were able to help us with our little goblin problem. It hardly seems a challenge now, given in comparison to what else you've been dealing with. Aye, well, we all live and learn, don't we? We train up as we go. I'm sure if I'd have come across the dragon back then, I wouldn't have been able to slay it, and without the help of the King's Guard, I certainly wouldn't have been able to slay it. So, it's not all on me. You say, no, of course not. We're a team out here. That's one thing we understand as the 4 villagers. We all have a part to play. So, is there anything else you want from Sathan, Talia, or the town of Helweren? You wanted to, I know a few of you wanted to talk to your friend Veren, who is a hunter here in Helweren, sorry. Time to say goodbye. We have commissioned some elven boots to be made. We have commissioned an arrow of entangle to pick up tomorrow. We've got a displacer beast cloak that we are essentially attuned to now. It's taken us a good half hour at least to talk to Veren and whatnot, and just as we're leaving, saying thank you and goodbye. Essentially, we're leaving the garden path, and then we can feel the magic take hold, and our form starts to shift. There's a squeal of delight from behind you as Talia realises it's working. Can we try and learn Elvish? How long would that take? It would take some downtime. It's definitely doable. You can learn languages in my game. I have a whole chart of how to learn things, and rolling your intelligence, with you having a high intelligence modifier, that certainly helps with with reducing the time it would take you to learn certain things. But it would be a number of days of downtime at the very least to get broken in it. There are 3 stages of learning a language in my world. There's like broken, where you can kind of pick up on the odd word, and muddle your way through a conversation. And then there is conversational, which is, you can pick up on most things. Technical things will go over your head. You'll forget the odd word, and then eventually you get fluent in it after you've trained in it for enough time. Catch up the hunter here tomorrow. Let's go find Mosh. That's a good point. Yeah, he did ask us to catch up with him before we left, but that's up to you. Said at the start of this, intently listens to them speaking Elvish, hoping to learn. Yeah, it takes a lot more than listening to 2 people talking in a language to understand it. Where'd you find this homebrew genius information? Came up with it all, Lefty. What is ordering food and swearing? That would be under the broken. Once you get to a broken level, you can order food and swear. All right, so chat with Veren. You head towards the outer town wall. Sorry, not a wall. It's not a walled town. You head towards the outer skirts of Helweren, and particularly to the sentry tower that you saw Veren standing in before. And you wave to him as you're approaching, and he comes down. That's fancy, isn't it? What's going on here? Is this what Talia was working on? You say, yes. You can see it's working, is it? And you say, it certainly is. You look. It's going to give me a migraine to look at. That's crazy. What is... So you're in... He kind of just puts his hand out and passes his hand through one of your illusions and it shifts again. Wow, this is going to make it hard for things to hit you, isn't it? Is that the idea? That's the idea, yes. It's a defensive thing. It makes it easier for me to avoid damage in a fight. Yes, it certainly will. It makes it a lot more difficult, and he kind of steps back and puts himself into a fighting pose as if he's going to like go the old-fashioned pugilism, like put up your dukes. He goes in and he's like, oh wow, this is going to be... Oh, I imagine that would be very difficult. And it sure is pretty. It certainly is, yes, it's beautiful shimmer. Can I see? And you do a little twirl. Show off the gorgeous blue-black displacer cloak. Yes, gorgeous. Very good. So how have you been anyway? I've been well, thank you, yes. Hunting's been going well and we've been getting a lot more time to practice. I have a few new items. The people of... And he holds out his longbow. Gorgeous hardwood longbow. Beautiful, isn't it? And hands it out to you to look at. You look at the handle. It's the area where he holds the grip is a beautiful metal, and the rest of it around is the hardwood, and then it blends into this elven wood at the top. That gives a lot of flexibility to it. Beautifully well strung and everything. It seems like it's very new, and you give it a couple of test pulls and it's got real good draw strength to it. You need some strength to pull this back. Yes, it's quite the equipment, isn't it? They provided it from Winglofau for me. What's your thought about the sort of weird feeling that's been reported in the forest? Weird feeling? Yes, have you not felt it really? Not particularly. No. What do you mean? Can you be more specific? I mean, it's like, well, it's kind of a feeling. I felt it myself as I was walking between the towns. And he says, "Oh, right, to the north." You say, "Yes." And he says, "I don't tend to hunt in that area between the towns. I tend to hunt a little to the south and to the west. It's where I find the most luck when I'm hunting. That's where I found you, of course." You say, "Oh yeah, of course." So you don't feel anything different about the forest down there? No, not particularly. It's sort of like an ominous pressure. No one can really explain it. They first mentioned up in Winglofau, and then I felt it myself on the way to Dolben Illoweth. Have you come across any blights while you're out there hunting? He says, actually, let me double check that he knows what a blight is. It's a pretty good chance. Yeah. He says, now, has he actually come across any from where he likes to hunt? He says, no, I haven't. I've heard that they've had trouble with them to the north a little more, like sort of northwest of the Four Sisters. And that's about where you found them as well. Northwest of the Four Sisters, sort of west of Winglofau kind of area. But they don't tend to, if they are around, then they don't tend to come out where I like to hunt. It's another one of the reasons, I suppose, that I find it more useful to hunt in the south, because if there are creatures from the Great Expanse, they're less likely to have eaten or injured or hunted for their own. More wild animals still left for the taking. Anything strange at all then? Even if it's not blights, found anything strange? I mean, there are strange things in magical forests every day, but nothing noteworthy particularly. Right. Mel said that she felt it as well, and Mel buzzes down. She said she felt it too. She said that the insects all were acting odd, scared or weird or something. I'm sorry to hear it. I hope it's nothing. It probably is. It's probably something to do with the threat, the vague threat that Arachel is warning us about. Well, I'm glad you're staying safe. So make sure to not venture to the north unprepared. He says, thank you for the warning. I certainly won't. As I say, I don't tend to have too many reasons to head north. Obviously, if I'm helping Dolben Ilwad with their harvest, I'll be there. But I think with the new bow and the arrows that Talila's providing me with, he pats his quiver by his hip. The arrows that Talila's providing me with and the new bow, I feel much more confident when I'm out hunting. Back to normal chats and admiring the pretty bow. Yeah, you start to talk hunter stuff with him. There's a bit of small talk about things that he's been hunting lately and how you've been hunting, and you mentioned that you had to fight your way out of a green dragon situation. He's very interested in that. He wants to know everything about it. You start to tell him the story of the arrow going through the back of the head as the green dragon was escaping on his final moments of life. He was getting out of there to live to fight another day, and you took a long shot. You felt like you were blessed by the god of the hunt in that moment, and you got an arrow through the back of his head. Eventually, you circle back around to the talk of Arachel. Say, what was it that Arachel's been warning you of? He says, I wish we knew, really. Between you and I, they can be a little vague. They can be a little uptight about information, even though that's pretty much what their whole job of the Four Sisters is. They've warned us that there is a threat from the Great Expanse, that we should do our best to protect ourselves and our villages. We're considering even putting up a wall, but it's quite a lot of resources to spend everyone having to stop what they're doing and go go and source some lumber so that we can start to construct a wall around Helwarin. And it feels so isolating to have to put a wall up around everything when we're meant to be a community. The whole point of the Four Sisters is that we're four sisters. We're all there for one another. We don't block each other out with walls. Arachel has never seemed to understand that, with them living up in the trees and their walled defences and such. Have they not said anything in particular? They must have said something that made the elders believe them. Oh yes, we believe them. We have no reason to believe that Arachel is ever lying to us. They are right about what they do tell us. It's just that we wish they would tell us more. They tell us only as much as we need to know, and barely that. But it's always true. Have they said anything about when the threat will arrive? Well, in a manner of speaking, they've said it's already here. I imagine this ominous feeling in the forest is something to do with it. I don't like that, though. How do we fight a feeling? How do we... Isn't that a song lyric? I just had a song go through my head as I said that. Can't fight the feeling. How do we fight a feeling? It's I can't fight an ominous forest, can I? Yeah, it's probably... I mean, it's... I don't know. If you come across anything in your travels, of course, let us know. Did you hear anything about the creatures that look like a person, but they're not? Yes, I've been told to worry about shapeshifters, they called them. They can shift their shape into different forms, but I mean, how do you search for that? Like, you have to ask every person you meet, every time you meet them. For all I know, Seidan is one of these, or Talila, or he starts listing off a bunch of the other people in this town. Like, am I meant to meet every time I see any of them? I ask them some sort of secret question, and if they can transform into their face, what do I know if they can't also steal their memories or have them locked up? And say you're a shapeshifter. If you've taken the form of Apis in order to trick me, then it means that you've probably likely seen Apis somewhere around on your travels, and so you've probably got Apis locked up somewhere, or you're interrogating them for information, and you can just ask them what the answers to this question is. It seems silly that they're asking us to do so many sort of security questions and such. Yes, I see what you mean. Paranoia can sometimes be more dangerous than any shifter. Yes, it might tear apart our towns if we're not careful. I know that Dolben Ilwad is already starting to succumb to the paranoia. They've started to construct their wall as well. Down here we feel a little safer, I think. We're a little further south, and any threats from the north, any threats from the Great Expanse would first have to go through the other three sisters to get to us. Well, there's chance I'll be off to the Feywild soon, but if I'm around when things go haywire, I'll obviously be glad to help out, and we'll be glad to have you. If you're anything to go by from what you were like several weeks ago when you were helping with the harvest, it seems since then you've gone off and slain dragons. So just dragon singular. Yes, of course. We'd be happy to have you, and I'd be happy to fight alongside you if the need ever came, Apis. Thank you. Right back at you, Veren. Do you need anything from the other towns? Personally, no. I don't need anything. I think Talia is running short of all of her ingredients that she's used to enchant your cape. So anything that, if you come across any of the enchantment materials while you're out and about, you can obviously collect those for us. That would be preferable. I do believe that that Talia has scourged the land around our town of all that is possible to use. She's trying her best to cultivate more things in her own garden, but it takes some time and quite a green thumb. Yeah, and also like that, where would you draw the line on shapeshifting? There's different magics that can transform shapes in lots of different ways. Yes, of course. There are ways that I don't know it myself, but I know of talk of druids who can manipulate the elements of the forest to give themselves the form of beasts to protect the land or walk the. Yes, I know someone as well. I know some people that do. Oh, you do? Yeah, some druids down in Fondrick. Well, I'll be off then. I'll be around for a short while in the general area, so if something happens, I'll come running, of course. Good luck, friend. And to you. Then he gives you a handshake, one of these cooler handshakes from olden times that you see in movies. No, not this boring handshake. Nah, that's a modern day handshake, I've decided. So you, anything else you want to say as a parting word to Veren? Anybody who wanted to talk to him or catch up with him? Is there anything you wanted to ask or anything before we disappear? The strong handshake. This is the. I always think of this as like the circus handshake, because in circus there's a lot of this. You have to feel like much more secure to hold on to people when you're doing lifting work and trapeze work and things. Do we want to give him our old cloak? That's an interesting thought. Do you guys have any plans for what you want to do with your old cloak? You can only wear one cloak at a time. I assume you're going to be wearing your cloak of displacement pretty much at all times. So you now have a cloak of fashions that can transform to look like any cloak you want it to. Might be worth holding on to. Oh, need it to camouflage the camp? That's a good idea, actually, Redial. Keep it for your hammock camouflage. Yeah, that's pretty smart, actually. And just keep it for the map on the inside of it. I'll have to decide. I think once you take it off, it might disappear. The map? Nah, no point punishing taking it off. I think when you take it off, it just continues to look like what it looked like. I think most people saying keep the cloak there. Oh no, there's a few people saying give him the cloak. Put a thumbs up yes if you want to give him your cloak of many fashions. Put a thumbs down if you want to keep it. Thumbs downs. I think the thumbs downs have it. This is pretty close though. I'm gonna have to put it to a poll proper to get a proper number here. I feel like this is going to be one of those 50-50 polls. Offer Veren the cloak of fashions. So just to fully let you know, in case you are unfamiliar with the item, the cloak of fashions, when worn, can change itself to suit the needs of the person wearing it. So it can't change the properties of the cloak, so you can make it look like a cloak of displacement. You can change the cloak of fashions to look exactly like your cloak, but it wouldn't give any of the magical qualities to that cloak. You can make the cloak look like a tiny little one of those shoulder blade cloaks. You can make it look like a big flowing gown. You can make it look like a Knight of Kavosna blue cape if you wanted to persuade somebody that you were a knight for some stupid reason. You can basically do whatever you want within limitations of making the cloak look like what you want. But you have another cloak that is actually useful in a fight. So you are now wearing a cloak of displacement, which is a magic item that that grants disadvantage on attacks against you. So you're going to be wearing that cloak, the one that actually grants disadvantage to attack you, which means you can't wear the other cloak. So you now have a spare cloak, and there's a chance that you might want to give it to your friend, the hunter, who might need it for camouflage reasons or what have you. And the noes have it. We decide, with 56% of Apis deciding, no, we're going to keep it for now. There's a big part of Apis thinks about offering him the cloak, but we decide now we're going to keep it. Might be more useful to us. So you say goodbye to Veren, you give him the old arm clasp, and then you take off into the forest. You're looking for Mosh, is that right? Where are you going now? What's your intention, Apis? Now we're off to find Mosh, who's definitely fine despite the name of the episode. So you head off into the forest looking for Mosh. Where are you looking for him? Who remembers where Mosh is meant to be? The edge of that first town, Mwinglofau, yes. So at nightfall, you are going to be meeting Mosh at the base of the Mwinglofau mountain. So you start heading back towards Mwinglofau, heading through the forest towards the Drow. It takes you an hour and a half or so of walking through the forest to make it to the Mwinglofau mountain, and I can't remember exactly what time of day it is, but you've done quite a bit of walking today. You went across there, well, you talked to these guys, then you went across there, then you went down there, you did some talking there, you've gone back up here. I'm going to say that it's approaching nightfall. It's probably about half an hour or so before it's officially twilight. So any time now is probably when you'd expect to be meeting him. Keeping out for anything suspicious on the way, you do so. Nothing suspicious catches your eye. In fact, where's my dice? I have a special dice that I really love. I bought it as kind of a novelty dice, and I've used it hundreds of times already. It is a very useful dice. It is a D8, and it has the 8 cardinal directions on it. It's a very useful dice. It's got north, south, east, west, and all of the half options as well. So I just need to roll that real quick for Mosh to see when you left him, which direction did he go foraging. You lucky bastards. Okay, so perception check from you. You are keeping your eyes peeled as you go. I'm just going to turn on your dice cam so you can see. Roll the dice. Roll the dice. You have a perception of +8. That is cocked. It was kind of a 12, but it was cocked. 15. Alright, 15 plus 8. The reason you have an 8 is that you have +2 in wisdom. You are proficient in perception, so you get another +3. And then you are in a forest, so you get to apply your wraith bonus. By which I mean forest bonus. And you get another 3 on top of that. So you get 8 total to your perception checks. 15 plus 8 is 23. As you are travelling towards this mountain then, just rewinding like a half an hour, you're in the forest and you're heading towards the mountain. You're looking out for anything dangerous or ominous. You're not really feeling it in this particular area of the forest, but you do find some blood. And it's not a lot of blood, it just kind of looks like an animal that's hurt itself. But some blood on some leaves catches your eye and you double take and you realise that it's fresh. And then you realise that there's a bit of a trail of blood and you follow it as Apis always wants to help an animal in need, an animal in danger. You follow it for a little while and you realise that it's dripping pretty intently. And then it stops, it staunches, but there are definite foot tracks around here as well. It seems like it got less and less, like the blood was stemmed rather than the animal died or was disappeared or anything. But there are footprints around here. Footprints of someone, a humanoid, wearing boots about the right shape and size as your friend Mosh. And there are other footprints around as well. There are other footprints that seem to be armoured sabatons. For the third time now that you've seen armoured sabatons in this area, you find footprints. You also see that there are broken twigs, broken branches. There is definitely signs of scuffle. Now that you're looking out for it, you see that there is definite signs of trouble in this particular area. What do you want to do? Pass without a trace to give yourself some stealth bonus. Follow the footprints quickly but stealthily. Track the footprints, keep tracking, listening for noises. Send Mel up to see if she can see anyone around.
Mel, what is it?
I think that Mosh might be in trouble here. I think there was a fight here recently. Can you head up and see if you can see anything?
Yeah, of course, Apis. I will look out to see if I can. I'm looking for your friend Mosh.
Just looking out for anything, any sign of humans, humanoids, movement, any armoured creatures, anything that you can tell from above.
I will try.
She takes up into the air your potbelly pig-sized bee companion. This giant empress bee heads off into the above the trees and looks out for things up there, while you are down here below, following footprints and tracks. So we're going to track them. Do we want to use Pass Without a Trace first or not? Pass Without a Trace, for anyone who doesn't know, is a second level spell. You have 2 second level spells per day, so you can use one of them now to cast Pass Without a Trace. And what it does is it gives you a plus 10 to your stealth check. So even if you get a nat 1 with Pass Without a Trace, you would have a 17. You would get a 17 with the Pass Without a Trace as the lowest you can roll. Do you want to use it? Thumbs up, thumbs down. Most people saying yes. If Mel is within 30 feet of you, it also affects her. Gives her a plus 10 to her stealth as well. At the moment, she's more than 30 feet away because she's above the trees, buzzing around. Being in a forest, can we tell how old it is? Yes, it is. Being in a forest without even needing to roll for it, you are a hunter, you are an outlander, this is what you do. You can tell that the blood is less than an hour old, it seems. Alright, it is, I think, unanimous. You are going to use Pass Without a Trace. So, as you start to head out on this tracking mission, you first stop and breathe in the shadows. You're starting to get towards twilight, as I mentioned. You think, you breathe with every breath, like a wave coming in and releasing again. These shadows, every shadow around you, the shade of the trees, gets closer and ebbs away, not quite as far, gets closer again, ebbs away, not quite as far, and then eventually they stick to your body, they encompass you, they dull the sound around you, everything starts to get a little quieter. Mel comes buzzing back down through the trees, and you can see her looking round for you, and you just, over here. And she sees you after a moment and buzzes back to you, and as soon as she enters 30-foot range of you, the buzzing goes from to a. She comes buzzing down to you. I will have you and Mel roll a stealth check. Mel explains that. Actually, I'll first roll a. Maybe I'll just roll a perception check for Mel first. There is a chance she'll see something. Not with a 6. Not with a 6, she won't. So she comes down and says, unfortunately, there are too many trees in the way, too much canopy. I can't see any movement of any animals that you're after. And then I will roll for you and Mel. Mel has the Buzzy Bee striped dice, of course. In fact, I just rolled the Buzzy Bee one. I'll roll the honey one. I'll roll the honey one with a bee inclusion. And then for you, I've got this this dwarven gem. Let's shift things to the side so I've got some room. Oh, 16 on both. Nice. So you both get a 16 on your stealth plus your modifier. For you, you are proficient in stealth, so you've got a +6. You've got a +16 because of Pass Without a Trace, so that takes you to a 32 stealth check. You are very stealthy. Mel is not proficient in stealth, unsurprisingly. In fact, because of her buzzing wings, she has disadvantage on stealth. I forgot. So she has disadvantage, so I'll roll both of her Mel dice and take the lower of the two. That's 16 or a 15. Hey, nice. She only gets one less because of her buzzy wings. So 15, she is very proficient. She's very dexterous though, so that takes it to a 19. 19 plus 10, 29. So 32 and a 29 on your stealth checks. Very good indeed. Following these tracks then. So now you are stealthy. How well can you follow tracks? That is a survival check. So survival for Apis. Here we go. A survival check. 16 again. Nice. Alright. 16. A very consistent roller. 16 plus your survival, which is a +8 because you get forest bonus as well. So 24 on your survival check, which is good. It's very good. You can tell from that there is one set of footprints you are 80% sure is Mosh. There are 2 more sets of armoured sabatons. It seems you take yourself back to where you saw the blood. It seems like one of the armoured sabatons folk is the one bleeding, not Mosh. The blood seems much closer to one of the sets of footprints for the sabatons. So you can tell that there are 2 people that seem to have encountered Mosh. You can tell that there was definite signs of what's the word? Foraging. There's definite signs of hunter-gathery kind of nature around the area that they were that the attack happened, if indeed it was an attack. You can see that Mosh was probably foraging some sort of plant life around him when these 2 came up and had some sort of a confrontation. It looks like they might have been in discussion for a while, just based on the fact that there's not huge depressions in the dirt, so it's not like they jumped him and pushed him down or anything. From the footprints around the area that he was foraging, it seems like he stood up and turned around to face them. Then there was like a very short chase sort of a situation where one of them came for him. Their footprints came towards him. His footprints kind of took off for a few feet. But then the blood starts around that moment. There's definite scuffles around here. The footprints are no longer defined. They're all over the place, all over each other. Then the blood continued from that point in the area. All 3 footprints heading off in that same direction. And then the blood starts to staunch itself, as I mentioned, and that's where you originally realised that there were footprints here. You continue walking after them, tracking them as much as possible. With your 24, you do a pretty good job of tracking them. But that's where I'm going to take a break, because I need to go feed my dog, and I need to decide exactly what it's going to look like for you to keep tracking these things, because I didn't anticipate you finding the site of it quite this quickly. You came in from the southeast towards the mountain, because as I've mentioned before, it's like a diamond shape. Winglofau is over here on the west, and you came from the southern one, so you were going directly northwest, coming from the southeast. And I rolled southeast, 1 in 8 chance. So the chances that you were going to come across him before coming across the mountain. I thought you were going to get to the mountain, realize that he doesn't turn up, then have to go and look for him, then eventually find this situation and all of what's about to come. But you found that before you found that Mosh was even missing. So well done you. You are tracking these bloody footprints and whatnot for a little while, as stealthily as you can. until eventually you hear the sounds of, after about only another 5 to 10 minutes of walking, it wasn't that much further, that you hear the sounds of hurried and angry, hushed voices.
It's not Russian. That must never because with I don't know ask you about when you're what is the boss and then Vincennes? No, boss get the boss you got boss I made you crush me.
Let's roll you an investigation, just a general language check, essentially like an intelligence check, straightforward, I think. Oops, that cocked. Oh, 17 plus your 3 intelligence, dirty 20. You can definitely tell that it is Goblin that is being spoken. You can also tell with that 20 that you can tell it's 2 different people speaking. Both sound male and adult. They sounds like you're hearing 2 Goblin voices. You follow the sound closer and closer until you get to a point where you can tell that they're real close, and you stealthily get an arrow out. You put it in your bow just to be careful, and you're ready. With Mel, you've told her to land behind you, so Mel is like doing her thing of like landing half on your pack and half on your shoulders, just kind of resting there so she doesn't give the game away with her buzzy wings. You stealth up closer, and you've definitely beaten their passive perception. As you round the next tree, you see that not even in a clearing, you're just like on a desire line of sorts between trees. You can see that there are 2 heavily armoured individuals, human in size, I should say, heavily armoured and holding down a net, a very heavy-looking net, woven with iron fabrics, it seems. Iron threads are throughout the fabric of this net, and they are holding it down, and there is Mosh, definitively Mosh, inside this net on the ground, conscious and not really moving. But the 2 of them are holding down either side of it and sort of arguing between the 2 of them. What do you want to do? Given that they are speaking Goblin and the size of humans and armoured, Apis would have heard enough stories about hobgoblins to know that these are probably hobgoblins. Can we net them? You could try. You could hit one of them with a sleep arrow. Mel also has a sleep ability that she can do. Shakes off pollen and basically casts sleep over the people in the area. They spoke Goblin. If they get attacked, that's on them. Alright, so let's have a think about what we're going to do. We have a sleep arrow. Mel has the sleep ability. We could try and talk to them. We could try and just straight up attack. Attack first, ask questions later. Seems like there's a few different options, so we're going to put it to a poll. What to do? Ask Mel to use sleep. For sleep to work, FYI, Mel needs to be above them. She shakes off like a bunch of soporific spores, as it's called, which shakes down into a space below her, and it tries to put creatures to sleep. All the creatures in that area, it would include Mosh, have to succeed on Constitution saving throws or be put to sleep. So ask Mel to use sleep. Use the sleep arrow. Both of the above. What else? Try converse. So try and work out what's going on. Try and talk to them. Or go for damage. I'll put go for damage as the last option, meaning like just put your planar warrior in, put your misty step, put your zephyr strike rather, your hunter's mark maybe, whatever. Stick your arrow in your quiver and start smashing. Just see if you can fell one of them, kill them. Hobgoblins have an okay con is straight up metagaming. You do not know that. You can assume that they have pretty good con because of the fact that they are armoured and quite clearly military looking, but that more indicates their strength and military prowess than their constitution modifier. What are the chances to warn Mosh of our presence? Depends how you want to do that. Mosh can sleep. We can take these two. Arrows would be cheap. Clear sign Apis is here, I reckon. Yeah, as soon as an arrow strikes one of them, I think Mosh will understand what's going on. Cloak that makes us invisible gives us more options. Doesn't make us invisible. It shifts our image so that they have disadvantage to attack us. Can Mel make the distance from where we are to the hobgoblins in a single move? Yes, she's got 50-foot movement speed. She would probably give herself away because even with a 29 on stealth, if you start buzzing out from behind cover and over to a creature, I've said many times before, even with a 70 on stealth, if you walk in front of somebody, they'll see you. Like, stealth does not mean invisibility. So Mel, even with a 29 on stealth, would probably give her game away as she appeared above them. But by then it's probably too late. So Apis decides, let's see if Mel can put these two to sleep. Let's see if Mel can put these suckers to sleep. Alright, so she does so. They're holding down Mosh in the net. Does Mosh seem injured? We can't really tell from this situation. We can just tell that his lot of sort of lower legs, and we can't really see much. He's underneath a net, prone on the ground from a little while away. See, listen, there's two creatures that are attacking Mosh in the net. I want you to, you know how you can do that thing to put people to sleep?
Yes, you've told me not to do it before until I get the signal from you.
Yeah, well, I'm going to tell you to, not now, but I'm going to tell you to do that in a second. You're going to fly out above them as much as you can, just get straight above them, and then do the sleep thing, see if you can put them to sleep.
Okay.
You ready?
Yes.
So don't do it now. You're just super clear. A little bit of paranoia seeps into Apis' mind, knowing that Mel is not the smartest of creatures. So when you're ready, when you're ready to go, you're going to fly out there, get above them as quickly as you can, and then just try and put them to sleep, okay? Just straight away. You don't need my signal when you do it, just when you're ready.
Okay, I get it.
Right you are. And she takes off. She takes off. She flies out from you about 30 feet out. As soon as she leaves that pass without a trace range, suddenly a buzzing gets louder. You see both of them flick around towards you. You get a moment to see through their helmets into their reddish faces, and you can get confirmation from that they are indeed hobgoblins. They've got that goblin-like nose, big kind of thick nose with a bluish tint to it. They've got very reddish skin to their reddish pigment to their skin, and dark hair you can just see starting to come down through the sides of their helmet, but it's too late for them to react to it. She's right above them, and she uses her action to soporific spores right above them. They are going to roll Constitution saving throws. One of them succeeds, one of them fails, and Mosh also fails. So one of them succeeds, one of them fails. Because it was this way on my desk, I'll just have the one on the left as you're looking at them succeed. The other two people fall asleep. Remain sleeping for blah-de-blah or until blah-de-blah. Blah-de-blah. Okay. So, she puts them to sleep with this soporific. One of them sort of calls out in surprise, kind of shakes his head. We are into initiative order. We're going to stay on this page because there's no real battle map for this situation because there's only two people. We're going to stay as theatre of the mind. But we have readied an action with a normal arrow, right? Not the tranquilizer. Did you want the tranquilizer or the normal arrow readied? Thumbs up if you want the tranquilizer arrow. We only have one of them. Thumbs down if you want the regular arrow notched. Alright, thumbs down are saying normal arrows. Keep your tranquilizer for more useful scenario, I guess. Alright, so you have a normal arrow notched. You have the readied action. Are you going to attack? So, do you want to attack, yes or no? After this thing is the other thing. Talking is free, yeah, you can talk if you want. You can try and offer something up. You have the surprise attack. He does not know that you are there at the moment. He knows that he knows that the bee is there, obviously. But we are now into a surprise. Is it going to be a surprise round or not? Try not to make it a kill shot. Everybody's saying yes, take the shot. Take the shot. Well, not everybody's saying it, but a lot of people are. The majority of Apis is saying yes. Let's shoot. So you had the readied action. You wait to see which one goes to sleep. You see the one on the right go falls over. The other one as he kind of shakes it off. You realise that he's not succumbed to it. So you loose the arrow. You have advantage on the attack because you are hidden from him. This is going to be a 2 or a 6 to hit. So you'll take that 6, and then with your arrow, let's show you below me here. You can see that the longbow has a +8 modifier to hit with. So 6 + 8 is 14. 14 armor class. What do you think? I've described them as being heavily armored. Do you want to reroll? You have inspiration and a lucky horseshoe that you can use to reroll. Reroll, reroll, reroll. Alright, bunch of people saying reroll, so we're going to use one of our inspirations or horseshoes. The inspiration can be used for fewer things than the lucky horseshoe, so we will use the inspiration that we got earlier to reroll that 6. Oops, sorry, I forgot the dice come first. I won't touch it. You can see it's an 11. 6 becomes 11. 11 becomes a 19 with your +8. Are we good with a 19? Do we want to stick with that or re-roll using our lucky horseshoe? We're good. We're good. We're good with 19. All right. So you go with a 19 on the shot. 19 is enough. It strikes down this guy in the side, right beneath the pauldron. It hits him here, and how much damage does it do? It does a D8 plus your dexterity of 3. Oopsie daisy. Oh, that was a Mel dice anyway. Let's grab an Apis dice. Apis dice. D8. 5. 5 plus 3. 8 points of damage to the hobbo. You can't plane a warrior on a readied action because that's a bonus action to do. You fire it in. It hits and it knocks him to the side a little bit. And now we're into initiative proper. That was your readied action. I'm going to roll for him. Okay, I'm going to roll for Mosh in case he wakes up. Okay. Him. Since there's not many of them, I'll roll for the sleeping guy. I'll roll for Mel with one of her dice. Ooh, nat 1 for Mel. And then you guys roll initiative with your dice. Let's empty out some of these. So let's go the cock and go with this one. 16! Another 16. Damn, there's a lot of 16s today. Consistent 16. Sweet 16 Apis. Alright, 16 plus your 3 from Dex takes you to 19. Which actually takes you out front just. Well, actually technically equal to the sleeping enemy, but it doesn't matter. Here you've got higher Dex, so you can go first. Okay, so the initiative is as such: Apis, sleeping guy; Mosh, non-sleeping guy; and then Mel at the bottom, bringing up the rear, the bottom of the initiative order. So Apis, on your turn, just as a collective, just as a hive mind collective, what do you want to do? Talking's free, so yell out to drop his weapon. You yell out in common. What language do you want to yell in? You can see down there the 4 languages that you speak: Common, Dwarvish, Sylvan, and Draconic. Shout out, release that man and surrender or face the consequences. Get back, Mel, summon your buddies if you can. Shout that. Drop your weapon and surrender. You'll be allowed to live, and then hold action to attack if he surrenders. If he doesn't surrender, obviously. Surrender and you won't be further harmed. There's a lot of people saying the same thing here. We're going to yell it in common. We yell in common, drop your weapons and surrender, or the next one's in your throat. Alright, this is going to be an intimidation check from your part. Because you have the drop on him and his buddy is unconscious, you will have advantage on this, and the DC is relatively low. So let me roll you an intimidation check. With advantage. Get out of there, Mel dice. I need some space. space for rolling. That one's cocked. So that's a 2 or a 5. Ugh. A 2 or a 5. Do we want to reroll with Horseshoe, or do we want to just be like, well, if he's not intimidated, he'll die? Up to you guys. What do you feel like? Get on there, you camera. Work with me here. Reroll Horseshoe, reroll Horseshoe, reroll Horseshoe. No reroll, save the Horseshoe. Put a thumbs up, thumbs down. Do we want to reroll? Yes. Yes or no? You've got one more reroll option. Horseshoe comes back every morning. You shout that out. You kind of cough and splutter on your words. You put your weapons down. I'm serious. I'm gonna. You better surrender or else. And you realise in the moment, oh man, I'm not being very intimidating here. Interesting. Right down the middle, it seems. There's quite a lot of dissent here, so I'm going to put it to a poll. Alright, so with 53% of the vote, the ayes have it, and Apis decides... let me try that again. And with the power of the luck that comes from Apis's lucky horseshoe, Apis decides to re-roll that intimidation attempt. So, it's either a 5 or a 10. A 10 is much better. 10 is, some would say, double a 5. So that is an 11 intimidation check. You immediately see him kind of look out towards you, even though you've given your position away with your attack. As happens, you are no longer hidden necessarily because he knows the direction you are. But with Pass Without a Trace still active, it's still hard for him to see exactly where you are. You see that he sort of shuffles back on his knees, and he gets up, seeing that Mosh is unconscious and his friend is as well. He gets up and he holds his hands up. He's not holding any weapons, it seems. He's doing what you've said. He's not holding any weapons. He has weapons by his hip. You can see he's got a longsword by his hip. You can also see a short sword on the other hip. And someone this heavily armoured probably has concealed weapons as well, like a dagger of some kind perhaps. He takes a step back away from your voice and away from Mosh. He glances down to his friend, and he starts to circle around Mosh. We're out of initiative for the time being, just because he's not necessarily going to be doing anything hostile. Magic rope time. You start to you put your bow away and get your magic rope out. Is that right? Because you do have, for those who don't know, your magic rope here in the inventory is a rope of entanglement, so you can give it a command word and it will strike out and try and entangle someone on your behalf. You shout, as you're putting your bow back over your shoulder, you shout, remove the net from the captured individual. Shake them awake now. And it calls back to you.
This creature is a dangerous demon. You do not know what you're dabbling in.
What are you doing here? Remove your weapons. Throw them into the woods.
No, I cannot do that. This creature is dangerous. Needs to be restrained. Please, before it wakes up, you have to understand.
That creature is my friend.
I see.
And he kicks his friend. His friend starts to stir. He is no demon. I can assure you he's not the most dangerous thing in this clearing.
This creature attacked me.
And he gestures to he puts his chin up and you can see that there's like a pretty big gash underneath his chin here.
This creature attacked me.
He can be dangerous, but he's not dangerous right now.
Well, no, because he's asleep from this bee.
Get him away from his friend so he can't kick awake. Step back away from your friend. His friend is already stirring. He's used his action to wake him with that kick. So his friend is stirring as he starts to wake. As he walks back, he keeps his hands up and he walks back further away from you into the further out. He's not even in a clearing. He's just walking further along the path. And he says,
Gibber! Gibber!
Yiskum? He looks around and he grabs the net again as he stands.
Biskum, what do you do? Gib Abus.
And he looks your way.
Who is this?
The other one says. Wake him up now. I will not ask you again. The one that was asleep goes for his longsword, and with his hand going onto his longsword, I'm going to jump back into initiative order. You are ready, obviously waiting and readied, looking for things. You've got your magic rope in hand now. You can rush forwards. This is your turn, essentially. We're going back into the top of the initiative order. This is your turn with you being readied for some kind of hostility. You can run into the clearing and use your action with the rope to get it to try and entangle. But the one who's just been woken has just gone for his sword. He's still down on his knees, kneeling over Mosh, holding with one hand the net, and with his other hand going for his longsword. Use the rope to tie his hand to the hilt of his weapon. Use the rope with the one with his hands up. The one with his hands up is further away now, so you'd have to run further to try and get him in range of the rope. Entangle the healthier one. Alright, so with Apis' turn, as a collective, you guys have decided you're going to rush forwards out of the clearing. You rush forward, you throw the rope forwards, holding onto one end. The rest of the rope uncoils as it flies through the air, and as it flies, you give the elvish word to entangle. I can't be bothered looking that up right now, but you give the word to entangle, and whoosh, it suddenly brings to life this like bolt of electricity running down the length of the rope, kind of animating it. Whoosh, it reaches out and tries to entangle the guy. Rope of entanglement. Let me just remind myself how exactly it works. I think it's an attack roll, but it might be a saving throw from him. Rope of entanglement. Dexterity save, so it is a saving throw. He is on his knees, so I'm going to give him disadvantage on this save to try and dodge out of the way of it. Oh my god! I haven't touched it. I got 2 nat 20s on disadvantage. I rolled both of Mel's dice for it. And I saw the 120 and I was like, that's funny, he got a 20 and then I saw the B. The other one has a B symbol, a honeycomb symbol as a 20. That is a nat 20 on disadvantage. Holy cow. Apparently the dice gods do not want this guy to be entangled right now. So as your action, you have commanded the word, the command word to reach out and try and grab it. He ducks out of the way of this rope and it sweeps over the top of him. He draws his sword out as part of his reaction to that. You have a bonus... Wait. Oh, it's a bonus action to command it. That's good. You've still got your action. You are holding the end of the rope. It was a bonus action to command it. Now you have your action left. What do you guys want to do on your turn? You have run into... It's not a clearing, but you've run down the path towards him. You've revealed your location. Technically, you still have Pass Without a Trace on, but it's not really doing anything for you right now because nobody's stealthing. You can drop the rope, draw your bow, and shoot if you want. Really bungled this one. I mean, the chances of him succeeding that dex save were relatively low, given his disadvantage situation. Can we get him to 0 unconscious instead of kill? With piercing damage from a bow, difficult. It's possible to knock him out instead of killing him, but much easier to do with bludgeoning damage than piercing. We're too close to shoot? No, you only have to be within 20 feet. You have to be within 20 feet of him for the rope to work. So I'm going to say you were at the minimum limit of that because you ran forwards to get him. So I'm going to say you're 20 feet away from this creature. And about 35-ish away from the one with his hands up. The other one still have his hands up. I mean, in this moment, everything's happening at once. It's kind of bullet time of D&D combat situation. So as the other one went for his sword, you ran out of the bush. As he ran out of the bush, this guy with his hands up has started dropping them to go for his sword as well. So everybody's kind of going for their swords and weapons as you've thrown this rope out to him and missed. So what is it you want to do with his weapon, with your action? Sorry, what do you want to do with your action, everybody? Rush him, knock him with our rin. You can punch him. You don't have your weapons drawn. You've just got the rope, so you can use your unarmed fighting, which is now a thing you have as your fighter multi-class. Plane a punch him in the face You'd need your bonus action to do planar punch. Start shouting, don't make me have to kill you! Show him that we mean business. We like to kill him or they hunt Mosh. Unarmed fighting, punch the wounded one. The wounded one's too far away from you. Alright, thumbs up if you want to attack, physically attack and try to cause damage to one of them. Thumbs up if you want to make an attack. Thumbs down if you don't. Thumbs ups, thumbs ups, thumbs ups. There's a couple of people saying no, persuade. A physical attack to try and hurt him is what I asked. Do you want to hurt him with a punch or an arrow? Most people saying yes, they're going for weapons, so we're going for weapons. Alright, so are we going to, so we have, let's see. We can draw an arrow and shoot with an arrow, but we will have to drop the rope that we're holding onto the ground beside us. We can always pick it up after the fight, potentially. We would drop the rope to draw our bow and arrow. Or we can keep a hold of the rope and make an unarmed strike against the closest one. We can probably cover the last 20 feet. I'll hand wave it a bit and say you can cover the last 20 feet and try and punch the last guy. You can't recommand the rope as your action this round. You've done it this round as your bonus, and you can do it again on your next turn if you're still holding it. Punch him, punch him, punch him, drop the rope, punch him makes more sense since he's halfway down. Alright, so we'll go with the punch. You rush forwards, you cover the distance, and you run in with a big haymaker. You are unarmed. You are an unarmed fighter, which means you get to add a d6 to your. Your damage is a d6 rather than a single point of damage, and for unarmed strike, I believe it says. Let me look up the exact wording to see whether a rope would count against it. But as long as you're not holding a shield or a weapon or something, you can do extra punch stuff. Unarmed fighting. Your unarmed strikes can deal bludgeoning damage equal to 1d6 plus your strength modifier on a hit. If you aren't wielding any weapons or a shield when you make the attack roll, the d6 is instead a d8. So, does the rope of entanglement count as a weapon? I'm going to say no, because otherwise it would be a weapon. It says wondrous item, not weapon. So I'm going to say the rope does not count as a weapon, so you can do a 1d8 fisting damage instead. So you're going to run forwards. You're going to try and punch him. 16 to hit. 16 plus your modifier to hit is definitely going to hit him. So you strike him. Here is your d8 damage. What are you doing? Oops, turning off the wrong thing. Here is your damage. 1, of course. 1 plus your strength mod. That's 2 points of damage, which it would be even if you weren't trained in unarmed fighting. Yeah, that dice tray really likes the 16s on that dice today. It's crazy. So 2 points of damage, crack right across the face of this one who's kind of kneeling. He's going for his sword. He ducks out of the way of the rope, and you use that opportunity to cross the distance. He draws out his sword, and just as he draws his sword out, you're there, and crack right across the face. I said, "Stay down!" You see. You shouted him to stay down. That is your action. That is your bonus action. That is all of your movement, and then some. But I will allow it. So. That's Apis' turn. Enemy number 2, which is the guy you just punched, he will use half his movement to stand. Technically he was prone, so I'll just roll that again in case you were a crit. No. So he will use half his movement to stand himself up properly. He is now in melee with you because you just ran over to punch him, so he's going to strike down with his attack. Ooh, 19 plus stuff will definitely hit you. Because of the situation, he's sort of steadied himself, so I'm just going to make this a one-handed thing. 4 plus his modifier. It seems like he's pretty strong boy because it hits you for 7 points of damage. I'm just going to keep a track of it here for now. Save me having to do it all later. So you've taken 7 points of damage. As he strikes back, it kind of forces you to push back away from him. He's going to bring back up on the upswing though, and now he's got his other hand involved. He's going to strike you with a two-handed longsword attack with the second one. That is possibly going to miss. So that's going to miss. That is going to miss with a 14. Yeah, 14, which will just miss your armor class. Oh, and your cloak as well. So that first one would have been a nat 1, so it didn't hit. Alright, so he instead, so he goes down with one hand, 19 plus stuff, but because of your Displacer cloak, you're shimmering around, he instead gets a nat 1, misses down, then he brought up the two-handed attack, so it was an 8 or an 11, so 8 plus his modifier, misses you with both attacks, and then he calls out,
He's coming to get us.
He seems to be telling the other one he's not in the place he looks at. So he's confused and unclear about what it is he's looking at with all of this crazy illusion stuff. That was both of his attacks. Got no bonus action. He's going to stay where he is, engaged with you in melee range. It is Mosh's turn. Mosh sleeps soundly throughout this. Nobody's taken an action to wake him. Enemy number 1 is going to go and rush forward to attack you as well. Before we do so, I'm going to roll Mythical Turian. Alright, Mythical, start typing out what you want to do on your turn. Remember your action, bonus action, and movement. Start typing it out, and we'll get to you in a moment. It's going to be enemy, then Mel, then you. Alright, so with the other hobgoblin number 1, he rushes back over. He was putting his hand up. All of this went down. Whoosh, he went down for his sword, pulled it out, and starts rushing forwards. He closes the distance between you and it. He goes around the side of Mosh and down to your end. So now the two of them are flanking you. Because they are hobgoblins, because of their specific lore behind hobgoblins being very well trained in military strategy and things, I usually only use surrounded rules, meaning that you will get advantage only if there's 3 against 1. Because they're hobgoblins, they get advantage if it's 2 against 1. So he's going to run forward. He has advantage, but he also has disadvantage because of your cloak of displacement. So that's going to cancel out, make it a single attack. Garbage though, so 13. 13 is not good. He takes a strike down, and he seems to notice that what the other guy was saying about you not being in the right place. So instead, he takes a step to the side and comes through with a sweeping attack to cut through both illusions at once if he can. For flavour, let's see if he hits with it. Much better. That's a 21 to hit. So he's finally going to hit. He's definitely going two-handed on this. So that is 10 points of damage. So you take 10 points of slashing damage from him cutting through one illusion and hitting you into the side of your armor. Scrapes across one of you, and as soon as it does so, the cloak shimmers and stops, and you are consolidated into one space. As soon as you take damage, you no longer have the displacement cloak feature. That was disadvantage and advantage because of his flanking. So that's the two of them on you. You are no longer displaced. It is now Mel's turn. Mel is above you and has just used her soporific spores. She's going to use her summon swarm ability once per day. She calls out to the creatures of the forest, summons her militia, and all of the bees and the insects and the bugs and the creepy crawlies start to swarm. She is going to summon them on the let's see. She's going to summon them on the one that's just running to you, and they kind of swarm around him as he's running, and then by the time he gets to you and finishes that second strike, the swarm has finished its collection. So that's Mel's turn to do that. She's going to stay where she is. The militia is going to take a turn. Mel's biting. Militia, oh, that's going to hit. Damn, they're not super good with their bites usually, but that is definitely going to hit against this armoured guy. He manages to get in between his neck pieces, underneath his pauldrons. They get in through his chest plate, and they start to bite and sting. What is there? Where am I looking? Oh, there it is. Yeah. Oh, nice. Okay. He's looking wounded. that insect swarm has taken him to below half his health with your with the addition of your arrow from earlier. And he starts to swear in goblin. That is the militia's turn. Oh, actually, she can summon 2 now because of her level. So she's going to summon 1 on each of them. I forgot that for a moment. Mel can summon 2 swarms because she's above level 5 now. Whoa, almost rolled off the table. That was only a 4. So the second swarm swarms around the other guy that's next to you. You're fighting 2 hobgoblins, both surrounded in swarms of insects. But that second swarm can't find a way in through his armor, it seems. It is now Apis' turn. Mythical, what are you going to do? You are sandwiched between 2 hobgoblins with Mosh asleep at your feet. You're going to drop the rope. You're going to bring out a longsword. Planar warrior to the wounded one. Move to place yourself between them and Mosh without leaving your melee range. Tell Mel to try and wake up Mosh. Fantastic. That is a perfect example of what I want from you, everybody. Having everything ready. So you drop your rope for a free action. You draw out your longsword. It's a free action as part of an attack to draw a weapon. So you draw out the longsword. You turn around. As you're drawing out the longsword, you use the crackles of energy, the goosebump kind of feeling that you get from planar energy, the force magic that makes up the universe. You summon that down your arm into the hilt of the sword as you draw it. As you draw it out, the hilt of the sword turns ethereal. And then you try and turn around and strike at the one that just came through at you from behind. As you're turning as well, the cloak of displacement reactivates and turns on again because it comes on at the start of your turn. You have an attack roll. You do not have advantage on the attack for any reason. The cloak doesn't give you advantage, it just gives them disadvantage. So I'm going to roll on the dice cam. There it is. 18 plus stuff will definitely hit. You have used your bonus action to Planar Warrior. You're going to add an extra d8 damage to this attack. So that's going to be this one and this one. 6 and 3 is 9, plus your strength modifier of 1 and makes it 10. 10 points of damage, ethereal damage as the blade cuts through that hobgoblin. It cuts about halfway into his armor, and then it turns back into the material plane, bringing with it all of the force energy of that sudden planar travel. And as it hits into his chest, it deals enough damage to immediately drop him unconscious. He falls down, if not dead, very much dying, with a huge gash wound in his upper torso. We have killed one of them. That is enemy number 1. I'm going to take him off the initiative order. Actually, I know some people were talking about keeping them alive, so I will have him making death saves instead. I'll leave him on the initiative order for now. Into him. That was that, and then you step between the second guy and Mosh without leaving his melee range. And then as a free action, just say, last chance, surrender or die. I'm going to give you a free action intimidation there with advantage because you just killed his friend without breaking a sweat. You got a 19 plus 1, 20, dirty 20. We'll see if that works. Enemy number 2's turn. It is his turn now. You've just felled enemy number 1. You turn around and bring that sword back out. Let me put myself in his shoes. Enemy number 2 is going to use his action to... He hits your sword to the side and uses that as a disengage, knocks you back and starts to turn and run. He is going to use his action to disengage and his movement to dash, to run. He's only going to get 30 feet through the trees, but because I said this wasn't a clearing, it's like a desire line through some trees. He immediately gets like at least 3/4 cover from you. Occasionally he's disappearing behind a tree and he's coming out the other side, disappearing again. He is 30 feet away, but got full cover from where you are currently. You can give chase if you want to. And we'll decide that on your next turn of combat. Mosh, it's Mosh's turn. Still sleeping soundly because nobody's woken him up yet. Enemy number 1. Oh, then you commanded Mel. Wake up, Mosh. Enemy number 1 is going to fail his death saving throw first. Blood starts to cough out of his mouth. And then it's Mel's turn. She just heard from you to wake up wake up Mosh, so she buzzes down to him. I'm going to see if she knows how to wake a person up. She knows how to put them to sleep. Short of stinging them, how is she going to wake them up? Let's roll an intelligence check for her. That's a 6. She goes, I don't know what. I don't have spores that can wake people, Apis. And you're just like, just shake him, just grab him, shake him, yell in his ear, something. I don't know how to. She doesn't understand. She unfortunately failed her intelligence check. She has got a -2 intelligence. She is a beast, so she doesn't fully understand things. She just kind of like buzzes around him, and it's not enough to wake him up. Her militia are going to. The guy who ran. Oh no, he disengaged, so he doesn't get a attack of opportunity. The militia are going to swarm after him through the trees. They're going to catch up to him, but they're going to have to use their movement to catch up to him. So they can't their action to dash to catch up to him. They can't move as fast as he can. So then the other militia on the one that's just died is going to disengage. They're just going to take off from him and start chasing that other guy as well. 2 swarms of militia, both heading through the trees trying to get to him. That is the militia's turn. That is back to... Damn, that was quick. That was a quick round. Milzy, you're in the chat. It's back to you. What to do? Are we going to try and wake Mosh as our action? Are we going to give chase? Are we going to try and wait for him to reappear behind one of the trees and fire from here? What do you want to do? As a dwarf, you have only 25 movement speed, so you won't be able to get into melee range with him without using your action to dash. If you use your action to dash, you can get up to him again, but then you'll have to use his action to disengage. You could also use Zephyr Strike. That's a good point. You could use Zephyr Strike to close the distance. Cure wounds on the fallen one, and Hunter's Mark the friend, telling Mel to shake Mosh awake. Okay, cool. I love it. So, cure wounds on the... so as a bonus action, cast Hunter's Mark as he is... you've got your longsword out. You point out your longsword in his direction and kind of make a pulling up motion. And just as this guy is kind of disappearing between trees, you catch a glimpse of him and pull up like that, and you see a bunch of the bark and leaves and things from the trees nearby. All of the moss on one side of the tree tears off and affixes itself to his chest plate, and as it hits across his chest plate, it kind of like seeps into his sabatons and his pauldrons and his chest plate. It heads down his body. You see him kind of encompassed by this greenish mark. He seems to glance down as it hits him, but keeps running. He is Hunter's Marked. You turn around, use your action. You can't cure wounds. They're both level spelled. You can't use 2 spells in a round. You can do a medicine check on this guy to see if you can stabilize him, but you can't. It would either be Hunter's Mark or cure wounds. You can't do both. So medicine check. All right. You turn around. You throw your sword down into the dirt, and you turn around to see if you can staunch the blood that's pouring out of this guy's chest. Medicine check. This one's going to be a relatively high one because of the fact that you well overdid the damage to kill him. It's still possible. But... Oh, yes, and also, you cast Hunter's Mark, so I need to check something real quick. 3. Alright. Hunter's Mark gone. Then it's a medicine check. Here we go. Medicine check, if I'm remembering correctly, you just have a +2 to this. You are not proficient in medicine in your skills block box, so it's just a straight wisdom check, which is just a +2. So +2 to the medicine here. 5 + 2 is a 7. That is not enough. You get down there and you realise, oh boy, it is not enough to cause him another failed death save with a nat 1 on medicine checks. I usually rule it that you actually make it worse. But you're trying to stabilize him, and it's just not working. Your sword went deep into his chest. It is still possible, but next round it'll be an even higher DC. Okay, that was your action to medicine check, your bonus action to Hunter's Mark. Movement? Do you want to move anywhere, Milsey? Forest bonus does not apply to this medicine check. Just tell Mel to shake Mosh. So you turn and say, Mel, shake him awake. Physically push him. And she goes, okay, I'll try. Alright, so she is going to try and wake Mosh up on her turn. Excellent turn, Milsey, well done. In the meantime, enemy number 2 is the one who is running away. He is going to use his entire action to dash. He's going to take the attack of opportunity from the militia, the bees in the trees. They're going to fail with their attack. Unfortunately, he's too heavily armored for that. You can see that he is definitely probably going to be leaving a he's definitely going to be leaving a trail behind him as he runs because he's heavily armored and running through the forest. But he is not slowing down. He is now about 90 feet from you. Mosh's turn. Enemy number 1, who is dying. Let's see if he makes his death saving throw. That is another fail. He is almost out. You can see that he has lost a lot of blood. And then Mel uses her turn to shake him awake. She uses an action to get up on Mosh's grill. She like lands on top of the net behind him and shake, 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 shake. Wake up! Wake up! And you see Mosh start to, what? What's that? What's that? What? And then she just like continues to, and she then says, I think he's awake. Very good. The militia keep giving chase to this guy. They're definitely not going to catch up to him, unfortunately, though. So, next one is Tree of Dave. Tree of Dave. What do you want to do? You have a dying hobgoblin next to you, bleeding out. You can try and stabilize him again, but the DC is higher, I'm going to say. You've got Mosh waking up, and you've got the retreating guy with a hunter's mark on him, so it should be easy for you to hunt him down and track him if you need to. As long as you can concentrate on hunter's mark, you should be able to track that guy relatively easily. You can cure wounds this guy now and save his life if you want to interrogate him. Cure wounds on the Wundar feet. Alright, you do so. Look down at this one that you've basically just killed, and right before he dies, his blood gouting out of his chest, you grab a hold of some moss and dirt around you on the forest clearing. You raise it up in both hands, you crush it together and feel the light of Flonenshale spreading through you. Recently you had a moment of clarity, like a premonition dream, where you were presented this Flonenshale oasis in the middle of a jungle, this beautiful tree standing over this supernaturally calm and still water. You focus on that, you focus on the tree, and you just your hands just kind of move without you thinking about it. You kind of mush all of these forest ingredients into this paste, and when you look down at it, this paste is like glowing with radiant light that you've imbued it in with. You slam that down onto the wound and smear in one big motion, and immediately you feel the blood stop and clot, and then right behind it, the mud that you've just smeared on starts to immediately start to bake and form clay-like substance, and then crack and blow away in the wind, leaving behind a closed wound. He's definitely going to have a scar from it, probably. That is going to be 6 plus 2, so 8 points of healing to that guy. He comes around with 8 hit points. Alright, so this guy is conscious. Turns and coughs up some blood. Tree of Dave, you've got a bonus action and movement left. Inspiration for being very Apis. Yes, thank you for the reminder. I will give you inspiration for saving a life. Even if it's a life of an enemy, you saved a life. You will always do what you need to... you only kill when necessary is one of the very Apis things to do, so I will give you inspiration back for that. Bonus action was to use the rope. Oh, you're going to use the rope as well? Alright, so you grab the rope at your feet, you pick it up, bonus action, shout the command word, and it wraps him up. He is entangled and restrained. I'm not going to give him the dex save for that because he's already prone on the ground and only just coming back to life. Alright, so your bonus action to tie up this guy. Cure wounds is an action. You've got movement left. You stand to your feet and just kind of like hawk this guy over onto his back. So he's staring up at the sky, all armoured up. And that is the end of initiative because the first guy will continue to run. He's definitely going to get away. And the second guy is on 8 hit points and stripped of his weapons and tied up. You take all of his weapons away, make sure that you take his 2 visible ones, the longsword and the short sword, by his other hip. I'm going to roll an investigation check on you to see if you can find out if he has any concealed weapons on him. 18. 18 plus your 3 for investigation is a 21. With a 21, you very quickly find there is a boot in his. There's a boot in his dagger. There is a short blade, a dagger for all intents and purposes, down the side of his left boot. And other than that, you can't find any other weapons on him. Want to look for documents while we're at it. You search him down, you sort of pat him down. It's pretty hard to see anything on his person other than the weapons and armor that he was holding. He was not carrying a huge satchel bag. He does have a small pouch that has, as you take it off of him, you see he's got rations in it. It's got a little survival kit. That's part of the survival kit is a small knife. So you take that off of him as well. It's got his mess kit in there. It doesn't seem like he's got any torches on him. You seem to remember that this hobgoblin has got dark vision. Most hobgoblins do, apparently. So he probably doesn't use that. Speaking of dark vision, it's getting into twilight now. It's quite late in the day, so you're going to start losing the light soon. So what do you want to do? You have Mosh is conscious, Mel is conscious. Mosh does not seem harmed in any way, really. He's got a couple of sweaty marks, obviously, on him. He looks like he's a bit messed up from the fight, but not physically. Like he's a bit shaken from the fight, I should say, not messed up. He's a bit shaken, but otherwise unharmed. I've seen your footprints all over these woods multiple times, rescuing people, goblins, elves. You probably tracked this guy as well. Let's work together to rescue this guy from his curse. What? His curse? What? What curse? You turn to Mosh. You okay? Yeah, I'm alright. How did you find me? Tracked you. Should know better than to assume you wouldn't have been able to find the tracks I was leaving. I did my best to drag my feet and leave some tracks, but there's not much I can do when I'm being frog marched through the woods like these guys. You turn back to the hobgoblin. Do you believe me now when I said I don't want to have to kill you? I could have let you die. What do you want? He says. Why did they abduct you, Mosh? They started claiming I was a demon, started shouting about demons, and I just said I didn't know anything about it. They got aggressive, and I fought back, and then they attacked me and grabbed me, and I may have made matters worse by changing momentarily during the fight. So they convinced them that I was a demon. The hobgoblin just stays silent and listens. You turn back to the hobgoblin. Right, information time. Who are you? Why are you in these woods? He stays silent and looks at you. What are you doing in the woods? What's your mission here? If you want to kill something evil, demonic. There's a fella in Fonda calling himself the Fiend. Maybe you'd be better starting there. Look, pal, you should talk, or you're going to wish you were dead. You can either tell us, or you can tell the elves of the Four Sisters. Are you working with the Four Sisters? What do you say to that? Look, I genuinely want to work with you here. I didn't save your life for nothing. It seems like you attacked him first, and I can hardly blame him for defending himself from you attacking him. A preemptive strike is often the only way to deal with demons. He looks across to Mosh again as he says demons. Were you the one bringing the elf to the elven village? He looks at you, silent this time, just kind of calculating. Tie up the prisoner? He is tied up. What does it matter if I'm working with them or not? You talk and I might offer more. I'm the one asking questions. We're working for the good of others. Who do you work for? I am working for the good of the whole forest. What makes you think he's a demon? He shifts into an animal. He attacks like one. And he takes no damage from our swords. Just take the knife out. Just proving your point. Look, I'm not the one tied up here. I'm not giving you any more information. That's your job now. I'm not going to be intimidated by a dwarf. Heavy plate, probably trained for that. You get the idea, mythical, yes. These guys, as hobgoblins, are trained for warfare and all that warfare entails, including being captured by the enemy. What do you know of the unease to the north? Unease, is that what you're calling it? Like calling a thunderstorm a drizzle. Well, he's no demon, he's a victim, and I'm trying to find a cure to his curse. Looks back across to Mosh. You're a were-animal, he says. Aye, I am. Then you're not the demon. That's what I was saying from the beginning. The guy just kind of sighs heavily and says no more. I'm also investigating that strangeness in the forest. We might be seeking the same thing here. Do we have planar prestidigitation? We don't have prestidigitation. You might be able to do some very minor planar-based magics if you convince me, Kelsa, if there's something in particular you're trying. But you don't, as a ranger, you don't have access to cantrips, per se. No one seems to be able to tell me what is to the north. If you can help me understand, maybe I can help you with these demons. If you don't know what's to the north, then you can't help with them, can you? In the great expanse, that's where they come from. They what? The demons. If you tell me what's to the north, then I will know, and then I can help. The elves are speaking of shapeshifters. Are those the demons you mentioned? He nods. What is this thunderstorm that's coming then? Coming. We are already weathering it without your help. You're weathering a storm by yourselves. We do not need dwarfs' help. It's bad enough that we have asked the elves for help. Can we walk and talk on the way back to the elven encampment nearby? You can, but you are risking the chance of him escaping, because as you're walking, you're not able to pay as close attention to him, you're not able to keep him on the ground. There's more chance that he'll be able to break his way out of the rope if you try and walk and talk. It's up to you. If I was to free you, would you leave us alone? I have no interest in lycanthropes or dwarves. When you say demons, do you mean evil creatures or actual demons? Actual demons. They are coming through a rift. You say to Mosh, do you remember anything about demons or shapeshifters from the Great Expanse? And Mosh says, I've never heard of anything like that before, no. Although I'm not super familiar with the things up north. I try not to keep in the Great Expanse too much. We're not from... my village was sort of northeast of the Four Sisters. The drow seemed concerned that Arashal was working with hobgoblins. Think they need to talk to this guy. Yeah, maybe. The more hands put up a barrier against the flood, the faster the tide will be stemmed. Why would you refuse my help when it's freely offered? I think Apis would already know the answer to that. Hobgoblins are xenophobic at best. They believe themselves superior to most other races and beings. On the whole, some hobgoblins aren't, but generally hobgoblins are raised with the military mentality of conquer everything. Does your kind have any curatives or knowledge of lycanthropy? We have some uses of it, yes. Some uses of it? Yes, there are those among our tribes that use it. I'd like to free you. I think we're working towards the same goals. Would you agree with me? What are your goals? I want to keep things safe in the forest. Keep the elves safe. When you say rift, do you mean like a portal? Can you describe it? We have not seen it. We just know the area that it's located. It is close to the Lone Mountain. The Lone Mountain. Yes, there is a mountain in the Great Expanse. Somewhere around the base of it, or inside it perhaps, or at the peak, somewhere in that vicinity. That's the extent of where these demons seem to come from. Do you know who opened that rift? No. We're just battling against the creatures that come from it. It's barely an ally at this point. We've already revealed a lot of secrets we didn't even tell our definite allies. Don't reveal the beetle. Do they need someone to help identify the portal? Because we can do that, maybe. Do you need someone to help identify a portal? I have ways with portals, I could do that. If you want to try and get close to the portal, be my guest. If I had a map, could you mark the position of this rift? Yes. Just so you know though, Millsy, the map that you have is of the Lannis Woods to the southwest of where you are, not the Fairwoods or the Great Expanse. Have you found any way to fight them? Yes. Usual ways of fighting creatures. How can you tell if someone's a demon? I wish you could. Quite often you know by their appearance, but there are those among their number that trick. Most often, believe me when I say you would know when you see it. I will be willing to research how to close that portal and close it for good. Well, then perhaps you will be help to us yet. Would you be willing to come speak with the elves at the Drow village nearby? To what extent? Ask merry gentlemen about this portal when we see them. Yeah. Perhaps the elves have a map of the region. The elves might have a map of the region if you ask the right people. Yeah. So how do I know that you're not a demon then? If I was, you'd probably be dead. And worse. Actually, it occurs to me that we can tell if they're in disguise thanks to Planar Warrior. Planar Warrior? Or do you mean like the primeval awareness? Do we know anything about the Lone Mountain? Mountains all alone are unusual. You do know that much, that Apis would know as an outlander that mountains on their own is not unheard of, but quite unusual. But you are not too far from the Shadridge mountain range, the whatever that mountain range is called that I can't remember right now. So it's not super unusual. Look, cooperation seems like a smart decision at this point. We should all work together, so let's go to that village. After you, he says, and he starts to stand up from the ground. As he stands up, you say, worse? What's worse than being dead? He says, you've never fought demons before, have you? No, I can't say that I have yet. You can't possibly prepare yourself for what you'll see when you do. I think it's time we stop the questions, let this guy go and get the heck out of the forest so this guy can get word back that Mosh isn't a bad guy. The one that got away is going to be coming back here with reinforcements who probably won't ask questions before attacking us, especially if they're going to Arachel. Arachel barely refrained from attacking us even when there were elves there vouching for us. That is a very good point. We did Hunter's Mark the other one before he got away, yet. so we can track the other guy relatively easily if we want to. We're still concentrating on Hunter's Mark. It lasts for an hour. Sharing of knowledge seems a small ask considering your life. What's on offer? What knowledge do you ask for? What's your name? My name's Apis. His name is Grobok. My name is Grobok. Thank you for your honor in how you've treated me, Apis. I appreciate it. He looks down at you, being taller than you as you're a dwarf and he's human-sized. He's about 1.5 feet taller than you. Where did we put this guy's stuff? About 10 feet to the side, I imagine. Mosh is probably holding it. Can we untie him now? You can if you want, if you're all agreed. You might tell the drow about Mosh. If we take him there, it might be best to just let him go find his friend. Do we have dogs? No, no dogs. We've got a horse, but it's not with us. You said your kind have uses for the workers. Do they have a cure for it? I'm not in that banner. I'm not sure. You would have to ask them, but I imagine they would. Tell Mosh to watch him closely on the way. You said, Mosh, keep a close eye on this guy. He says, yeah, you don't have to tell me, Apis. Are we going to let him go? A bunch of people saying to let him go. Untie him, yes or no? Do you think you can make it to your clan in this state, or do you need more healing? I will be fine. Are the demons linked to the blights in the forest? He nods. Yes. Some of the demons infested the local fauna when they first took root. And spawned a bunch of the Grutask trees. Say what? He says the Grutask, and you say the Gulthias trees. He says, whatever it is in common, I do not know the word. Alright, so, it's pretty down the middle about untying him, yes or no, so let's put it to a poll. Untie him. Yes or no? Hey, we're all working to protect the forest here. There's no reason we can't do our part even if we don't work side by side defending each other. If we do not get your defense soon, we will all fall. It's a nice amount of exposition dump. The question is whether he's truthful. Well, I will have you roll an insight check to see if you can pick up on any particular tells. Nat 20! Nat 20 insight! Plus your 2 from your wisdom, so 22 insight. If he is lying to you, he is very good at lying. He seems, from all intents and purposes, like he is... he has chosen he's accepted his fate of being overwhelmed. He is not frightened by you. You don't seem like you're intimidating him in any way. You can read on his body language and his attitude that he harbors no ill intent towards you, it seems, unless again he's very good at deceiving you. It seems like he is out here doing his job as he sees it, keeping the forest safe from demons and hunting them down. He's following his orders, he's following his code, he's following his morals and his ethics, and he believed Mosh to be a demon, and so he tried to capture him. That's what you read from your 22 insight. I think we should bring him to Mwinglofau, but tell him we will vouch that he seems to be in earnest and we think they should let him go, but leave it to them as the woods are their neighbourhood. Good point. Can we see if he has any ill intent towards Mosh anymore now that he knows the real reason for Mosh's transformation? From that same 22, same thing, like he seemed like he was following orders and he's realised that he was a work creature, not a demon. Untie him, yes. 70% of Apis decides we're going to buy that he has no evil intent towards us. He doesn't have his weapons on him right now, and you can take him down on his own anyway now that you outnumber him 2 to 1. So you untie him, you hold on to the other end of the rope, you give it the command to loose, and it falls off of him. He sort of rotates his shoulders, gets himself a little more back in place, and then he holds his hand out to Mosh to get his weapons back. Do you give him his weapons back, yes or no? When we get to the village, keep what you know about my friend's situation to yourself, understood? Puts his hand down and turns back towards you. Your friends, your elves, they do not know that your friend is a fox. No, they don't. And we don't know if they would understand. People like yourself are quick to jump to conclusions about him. Very well. But not knowing these things can lead to confusion like today. As I said, one of our banners uses people like you. Perhaps you would make more use of yourself against the demons to not hide it. All due respect, keep your fucking opinion to yourself. Very well. Puts his hands out for the weapons. You nod to Mosh. Mosh looks hesitant, then hands him the hilt of the longsword. Takes it and sheathes it. Holds his hand out for the short sword. Mosh gives him the short sword, flicks it around, hands it out to him. He sort of, you see him kind of look down and tap his heels together and realizes that his dagger's missing from his boot. You took my knife. Mosh twiddles it. Hands it out to him. Takes it and slides it into his boot. And my pack. You hand back his pack that you were holding, the rations and the small knife and the bar of soap and his mess kit and things, his tinderbox. The elves only know they only know to be wary of shapeshifters, and they might do as you did and think he fits the description if they know he's aware. Yes, quite probably. Apis does like daggers a lot. So, you've given him his weapons back. You have discovered one of the creatures that was creating these armoured sabaton tracks that you've seen a few times now. Would you willingly share this information with the nearby elves? There seems to be a lot of confusion among the sisters. We have willingly shared this information already. If there is confusion amongst them, it is not our doing. It is because of lack of communication, efficiency, and military efficiency among the elves. Aye, be that as it may, would you share this information with them? I've shared it with you. You can share it with them. They might have questions that I haven't thought to ask. Well, let's get moving then. Is his armour fucked up? Not really, no. You didn't really hit his armour too much. You got an arrow in underneath his pauldron in the armpit sort of area at first. Then the bees came in and did a bunch of damage to him around his neck and stuff. And then you hit him in the side. The only bit that's fucked up is a big gash in the side of his armour here. There's nothing you can do about that until he gets a smith. So he'll go and get a smithy to fix that up tonight, probably, if he can get home. Or try to fix it up tomorrow, maybe. Off to Muglagagl. I vote we let him go to his friend. Alright, so there seems like there's a little bit of dissent among the two decisions of whether or not he is accompanying us to Munglofau or whether he is going after his friend to help to tell them, hey, he's not a demon. Because, as somebody mentioned before, his friend has run off from this fight and escaped, and so there's a good chance that his friend is going to be giving false information as he understands it. Hey, I got attacked by a demon and then a dwarf attacked me and yada yada, and they're probably going to come back with reinforcements. So you can either let this guy go, tell him go find your friend and let him know what the deal is here so we don't get attacked again, or come with us to Winglofau and help corroborate the story that we've heard. Grobok, is there anything else besides demons that I should know of, like reinforcements coming? Yes. If we have to retreat, if we have to lose our encampment, there will be a great deal of our kind coming south. We will expect reinforcements from you. Let him find his friend, give him the info so we know about his direction. Telling the 3 villages about a demon invasion a bit more dire. Yep, that's why it's up to you guys to decide. If he's with us, he might stave off the nuisance of further attacks. That's a good point, yep. Let's put it to a poll. What to do with Grobok? Let him go or keep him with? 2 minutes to decide. Are we going to let him go or are we going to keep him with? There's benefits and drawbacks to both. You can keep him with you as you go to Munglofau and have him there to tell the elves, hey, look, hobgoblins, these are the ones leaving the tracks, these are the ones that blah blah blah, they're actually helping us because they're protecting against demons apparently. So he can be there to corroborate and help to spread or to get rid of some of the rumours that are going around about what this evil force is. Or let him go and tell the other hobgoblins, hey, there's a werefox in the woods that isn't a problem. Don't bother with the retaliation. It might be smart to send an official missive before moving south. Do you know if your leaders are planning such a thing? People should be warned, or they might mistakenly take up arms against you. It was we were under the impression that the elves were all warned, and not only that, but they were sending reinforcements to aid us in the fight. It is news to me that you are saying the elves do not even know that we exist. You guys freed a goblin. That goblin just had a raiding party that almost destroyed one of the 4 sister villages. Do you know where that raiding party came from? Let's see if he does. What is the chance? Percentage chance. Whoops, daisy. Oh, that'll definitely do it though, because that was a 0. 007. Oopsie daisy. 007. So that is enough. He goes. Yes, in fact, that's enough that I'll say it was him that did it, because there was a chance of that. He says, yes, I know of the goblin of which you speak. They were defectors from our tribe. We hunted them down and found that someone had dealt with them already. You do not need to worry about their retaliation into the 4 sister villages. Alright, 60% of Apis decides we're going to keep Grobok with us. So we do so. We were the ones who dealt with them. You dealt with the goblin tribe. Yes. Yeah, clan, he says, not tribe. You dealt with the hobgoblin clan. I did. You are quite a fighter. Where did you learn your abilities? You start to walk and talk as you as you're going, walking your way towards Munglofau. You're not a million miles away. I think I said you were about half an hour away or so. You're having Sasquatch flashbacks bringing this guy to the town. At least this guy can understand and talk back. Where did you learn your abilities? You can see how he walks. He walks with like an upright military stance as he walks. He's got very much about everything about him is about like military training from an early age. From his face, you can probably tell that he's early 20s at most. See, we should leave a short message to make sure your fellow soldiers don't mistakenly take drastic actions while you're gone. There is little I can do about that, unfortunately. Mosh is coming with... Yeah, Mosh is with us, as is Mel. You say, well, my abilities just come from training. There's a whole lot of dangers in the forest, demons or no, and I need to be prepared for them. I spend most of my life in the forest. It shows. You are very good with a weapon. How did you do the thing where it disappeared? Is that the product of your weapon? We learned some of our abilities, like most things, come with experience. Some learned the hard way. We should be at village before reinforcements come. Yeah, you'll be at the village within half an hour easily. The sword's just a thing I can do. It will come in useful against demons. You should remember to use it. It was a lot harder for me to dodge or avoid, and demons cannot be killed by regular weapons, it seems. Not often, anyway. The small ones, maybe. My ability with the sword comes from the same sort of energy that the powers that create the portal that you spoke of. He side eyes, his head just slowly turns towards you. Not demonic, just the powers that create portals between places, wherever that portal happens to go. It's the powers that created the universe to begin with. I have an affinity for aspects of it. That could be very useful, I'm sure. Do you have any way to send messages to your folk, tell them you're okay? No. Not quickly, not easily. We're baradooning here. We're being very chatty. It's the problem with having so many minds controlling Apis' conversation. We haven't said the Horizon Walker thing, and we haven't gone into detail about what we can do, just that we have an affinity for force magic. That's all we've told them. Force magic can be manipulated by wizards. Force magic can be manipulated by sorcerers and warlocks and a bunch of different creatures, a bunch of different people. Even clerics can manipulate force magic. So we haven't told him that we can jump between planes or anything. Just that we have an affinity for the type of power that comes from portals. Need to double time it to the village before we give up too much information. Alright, so Apis realizes a bunch of their synapses start firing, going, oh shit, I shouldn't have said that. And then you keep stum for the rest of the walk. There's just a gentle clang, 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 rhythmically, methodically, as this guy marches through the forest. Clang, 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 clang. Eventually you're approaching the base of Mwynglofau as it turns dark. You start to make your way up the mountainside, and he seems hesitant, and you say, they won't attack you if I'm with you. He says, I wouldn't be so sure. We do not have great history with the elves. And the fact they haven't clearly told every one of you what the situation is with us leads me to believe that they are hesitant to actually help us, and it may have all been talk. You call out, Trell! Trell! It's Apis! You see Trell's head comes to the cave mouth, looks out. When were you last here? This morning. I set off towards Dolben Ilawad. I gave you something. Hey, you gave me a letter. It was sealed. I handed it off to them. Very well. Come up. We did not find your friend. You said to... No, I found him. He's here. I got a couple people with me, actually. They're coming up with me. I've got a lot to tell you. Very well. I can play my panpipes if you need me to prove myself. And then I roll for it, and you roll really well, and they're like, it's not him! It's not them! Kill them! I got two people with me, the friend I spoke of, and the other one has information. Hunter's Mark reminder before it drops. Yeah, you are getting to the end of your hour of Hunter's Mark here. So you what can you tell from it? I mean, it's a hunter's mark. You can tell the general gist of the direction he was going when he set off from you, and he carried on in that direction, like northwest of where you were going, essentially. And you've gone slightly more north by northwest. So he was kind of skirting around the western side of Mwinglofau. That was the direction he was going. You arrive at the cave mouth. Trell is on guard, and you can see his crossbow is cocked and ready to fire if needed. The other two are on either side of him, flanking as well. He welcomes you in. He stops you as you just come through the mouth of the cave, though, and asks you about who your friends are. And you exposition dump. This is Mosh, the friend of mine. This one is a hobgoblin from nearby in the woods. He knows more about what's going on. They all kind of seem on edge, glance around one another, and they let you in. They say, as the hobgoblin passes, they sort of close in behind you to get in front of him, and you hear Trell say, "Do not unsheath your weapons while you are in this cave. Is that clear?" "Crystal clear." And he takes steps to the side, lets the hobgoblin walk forwards. "And your name?" "I'm Mosh. I'm unarmed." You can see that. "How do you know this one?" Apis, I know them, from, I don't know, a few weeks ago, I met in Shadridge. We got to know one another pretty well, fighting alongside each other a couple times now. Turns to you. You nod your corroboration of the story. "Right. So, tell me what you've discovered. You said you had information." The hobgoblin starts to cast the exposition cantrip. The hobgoblin starts to explain. My name is Grobok. I am from a legion," and he gives his rank. It's not like sergeant, lieutenant, blah blah. Can't remember exactly what they are off the top of my head, but I can't bother looking it up. It says, I'm so and so Grobok from the Legion to the Great Expanse. I am here. I'm here as part of a scout mission to hunt down and kill any demons that have escaped our grasp. There's like a look between the two flanking guards to Trell. Says, yes, there are demons to the Great Expanse, and we are the first line of defense against the entire forest. Some of them get by us, and it is my job to track them down. I found this one in the forest, and he gestures to Mosh. And I attacked, thinking mistakenly that he was a shapeshifter. I see. Is this the shapeshifters we've been hearing about? Most likely, yes. I'm not obviously your commander. I do not know what information you have or have not been given. But some demons have the ability to take on the form of mortal people. And how do we know that you're not? He turns to you and says, your people have a way of asking that question, don't they? If I was a demon, I would be able to kill all of you. Well, let's hope you're not then. He continues to exposition dump. The important information that you glean from it that he hasn't already told you directly is that there is a legion of hobgoblins made up of a series of different banners. Each banner has a particular job in that legion. So one of them is the werewolf division, as he's kind of hinted at before. They use supernatural people with lycanthropy curses, therianthropy curses to try and hold back things that can only be damaged with supernatural weapons and such. Also, their immunity to non-magical damage certainly helps. There's a banner that he is from that is all about tracking and scouting and hunting out the demons that get by. There are several banners that are just like straight up infantry frontline defense against the demons. There is also an assassin demon he tells you about that is the ones that are going out there trying to find the leaders of the demons and try and stop them and whatnot, to try and source out the the source of the portal and put an end to it, or discover where it is. He tells you that the hobgoblins have been slowly failing. They've been slowly falling in numbers, and they cannot replenish themselves seemingly as quickly as the demons can, and so they're starting to turn to outsiders for help. They've got a couple other monsters from the Great Expanse involved. He doesn't go into detail about what. And then he says, and reluctantly we came down to for help against the from the elves. When we arrived, we were told that our arrival was foreseen, and that they would come to our aid. He tells you that the time that was coincides with basically when you heard that Moonglowfow had been given the order to make more weapons. So it seems even from back then, Moonglowfow have been told to make more weapons because Arachel had made or made a promise to protect or to come to the aid of the hobgoblins to the north. Other than that, no new information. He casts the exposition, and Trell listens for the most part, just listens to it all. Should we detect demons with the radius of the village to check just in case someone slipped in? Very good idea. Should we do that? Thumbs up in the chat if you want to use one of your spell slots for the day to cast Primeval Awareness. It is an ability you have where you can send out a radius from yourself, and you can specify a particular type of creature, like fiends, and if there is a creature of that type in range, you will get a ping saying yes. It won't tell you how many or where they are, but it'll tell you if there are any in that range. So, yes, that is an overwhelming and unanimous yes. You use your spell slot to, as he's talking about this and as he's talking about shapeshifters, and he's asked about how would we know if you're not a demon. You close eyes and think out to a radius of just the Moonglowfow Mountain, the Moonglowfow village and mountain range, encompassing all of the elves and Trell and all of these. Are there any fiends in the area? You can't specify demon, but fiends will include demons and devils as well. You just think what it feels like when you hear stories of demons. When you've read about demons and devils, you think about fiendish energies and the type of thing that they do, dealing devils with people, making deals with people. You think about how it makes you feel in your chest, in your person, in your arms. Does your hair stand up on end? Is it fright? Is it sickness? Is it revulsion? What does the concept of demons and devils mean to Apis? And as you're feeling that in your body, you're feeling for whether you can sense that exact feeling within yourself to a radius of the Moonglowfow Mountain. And just as the spell happens and extends from you, that's where I'm going to leave off, and we're going to pick up with the answer at the top of next session. Thank you very much for joining me. I will see you guys next time. Bye bye. We had fun here today, but you know what else is fun? Liking and subscribing. Thanks.